You about to do another live again. The president is about to he's meeting with the leaders of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and I have not seen this. This is my first time watching this with you, so we are going to watch this all together and see the president bolstering some relationship with Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Um, both nations have been our allies because we have a lot of trade with them for oil and other resources. So it is in their best interest to be our friends. And so I like what the president is doing. He's constantly, bolstering relationship with all these countries. He's trying to stop Ukraine and Russia from fighting. He's trying to get rid of Hamas totally once and for all. Now that he has the opportunity through its Palestine's war with Israel, that's still a peace move right there. If you're trying to get rid of a terrorist organization and they're on the run, you might as well just step on them while they're down. I'm not for having innocent people killed, but I'm also for peace. And if you're for peace, sometimes it takes war and things that are doesn't look as good. So he is strengthening ties. Always have we all United States always strengthen ties with Israel. Israel is always going to be our allies, our friends. It's just what it is. We've been allies for years, and this is no different. Um, he's also recently. I was reading the news before I just got home. Before I got home, where he brokered a deal to kind of have a ceasefire because India and other Indian country. They've been going at war for whatever the reason is. I haven't really looked up into it. If I don't know something, guys, I'm not gonna come up on here and act like I know what I know. But if I don't know it, but I know India and Pakistan. Sorry, I've been going on it for a while now, and he's had a sit down with both nations, and he's pretty much like quelled that. Whatever he does, he has Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you. If you can do that, man, I appreciate it. Thank you. To everybody in the stream, welcome. Ranash, I don't know if I mispronounced your name. Oki, appreciate everyone joining the live. Thank you guys very much. As you guys know, I do this daily or every other day when I have the time. I just came from school right now, but I was watching, I'm always watching the news. Renash 10, welcome to the live. Oki, appreciate every single one of you joining. Thank you very much. If you guys like the content I put out, please go ahead, hit like and subscribe. I appreciate it. If you guys want to donate, that's always appreciated also. Just a little bit about me. I have a master's in criminal justice and political science. Eventually, I do want to go into politics. My hobbies. I know that's not important, but I still kind of. I'm here in the United States. I'm into firearms, Second Amendment, First Amendment, United States, peace across the world, defending one's border, whether it's Jamaica, United States, El Salvador, Israel, whoever. I'm all for that. Vlad, welcome, man. Appreciate it. Welcome to the chat. Again, I was talking about how the president was. I think he was in the process of when I was leaving school and coming home. He was in the process of brokering a deal with Pakistan and India. And these are the kind of things that I like to see a president do. A lot of people might not like Donald Trump, but you got to admit, man, this man has been mad active since he came into office. It seems like he's at a press conference every single day, sometimes 3, 4 times for the week. Where does he find the energy? And Kamala Harris wanted to say that this man was deteriorating. This man is coming and he's brokering deals for the United States. And the deals that he's brokered for the United States is not just for the United States, it's for the other countries. The other countries are benefiting. And I know a lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, we're doing high tariffs. But remember, we've been charged high tariffs for years. And countries have made billions of dollars off of the United States. And yes, we're one of the richest countries in the world. But imagine if you're rich and people are always taking, not just one person, your aunt, your uncle, your other uncle, plus that uncle, his nephew, his niece, and everybody else is taking from that trough that you have. At some point in time, that trough is going to get low. At some point in time, you're going to get sick and tired of people just taking from you, because you're going to see, like, it's like having one of these Kim Kardashian lookalike girlfriends. That's why you see all these beautiful women all around the world single as hell. They go and they meet a rich guy. The guy has money, but all they do is come with cat and they take. They just take, and they really don't give back. So a lot of these men are like, you know what? We're good. Just move along. You know what I mean? And it's the one that comes, and even though you have a lot to give, it's the one that sows back into you, or the ones you kind of want to stick with. And so I think that's what the United States is doing, is saying, listen, man, we've been that breast that everybody's been suckling on, but what do we get in return? Well, what do our people get in return? And even if you're an outsider looking at it from a perspective like, man, screw the United States, you got to think about it. Each government, whether you like it or not, looks out for their own. It is what it is. If you think that like Italy and all those countries are just gonna open up their border and have an influx of people just coming in and just dumping into their society, they're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? El Salvador, can you imagine if all the countries from around the world was just dumping people into El Salvador and straining their resources? You think they're not gonna say, you know what, we're not gonna do this? Any country you take and you start dumping people on their economy, guess what? They're gonna fight back. And I don't, and it's the same thing here with President Trump. He's doing the same thing. And did you just toot? What is toot? I don't know what toot is. I don't know what that means. But anyway, Stamina Hyper, welcome to the chat. Richard Gunn, welcome to the chat. Appreciate every single one of you guys for joining. So if you guys join, if you guys get any substance, or you got stimulated by any of the information, whether it's from me or from the president or whatever, feel free to go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and notification bell. So when I come on and spew my foolishness, you guys be some of the first to hear it. So if you guys are thinking, am I passionate about this country? Yes. I'm not only passionate about this country, I'm passionate about the world in general. Like you hear President Trump say all the time, as it pertains to Israel and I'm sorry, as it pertains to Ukraine and Russia, he says he just want to see the killing stop. When was the last time you heard any president or any leader of any country openly say, yo, I'm not involved in that war, but I want to see them stop? That's a very admirable quality. During the old time, tell me one time did you ever hear Kamala Harris come out and say something like that? Any spokesperson from the Democratic Party come out and say something like that? Anytime you heard Barack Obama or Joe Biden come openly and say, you know what, I denounce the violence that goes on in Ukraine. I denounce the loss of lives that go on in Ukraine that's happening between Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers, and the lives that are being devastated because of these losses. You never hear them come out and say it, but you hear President Trump come out and say it. But yet still, people want to say he's going to plunge us into World War III. No, he's not trying to plunge us into World War III. He's actually trying to prevent us from going to World War III. And he still has it as top priority not to let Iran have nuclear weapon, because he knows, like, these crazy people will use it and they will plunge our country into world war. And yet still we had a president in Joe Biden that was constantly, and we see the report come out that we were sending billions of dollars, maybe not billions, but millions of dollars to Al Qaeda, and giving them, for what reason I don't understand. But as an American citizen, I can't get a dime. Can't pay my mortgage 2 months in a row. You know what's going to happen? My house is going to go into foreclosure, and they're going to kick me out of my house, and I can't get $1 million to pay off that. I would rather the government get up and have a lottery, and every day they pick 10 names and give away $1 million, than we give millions of dollars to Al Qaeda. Any country, before you give away money to another country, for no good reason, give it to your people. Give it to the people who have been sowing into that soil. Okay, that's who I want the money to go through. And again, if you look at this from a perspective where putting your people first, you can't blame President Trump. You just got to admire this man and say, yo, this man is doing the right thing. Anyway, without further ado, guys, I was telling everyone what I'm interested: guns, firearms, First, Second Amendment, my country, my people, people around the world, peace, God, Jesus Christ. That's what I'm into. Just a quick synopsis and making people well because I'm in nursing school. So again, guys, the chat is open up for any donation if you guys really like the information that I'm putting out and you like the content that I'm making. My camera system is not the greatest. I'm using a tablet right now because I'm in school and that's not really the focus. But when school is finished, I'm gonna really work on getting the channel, a lot more streamlined so we can do the live a lot better. The quality is a lot better, lighting and all that stuff. But for now, guys, this is how I'm building my channel. If you guys want to be a part of the journey, this is the kind of the ground level you guys want to get in on. So because there's going to be a point in time where you're going to see this channel all over the internet. You're going to see me talking to all the right people, and it's going to be about whatever it is, government, religion, you name it, firearms, animal. I'm just an all-around channel. I want to do it all. I want to interview everybody. I want to talk about everything that's good and proper in this world. Even some of the topics that are not worth talking about, but I want to open up dialogue, guys. I guess this is sort of my bid for politics, as eventually I will go into politics after I'm done with my nursing career. But for now, this is where it starts. So welcome to the ground level, guys. And without further ado, let's get back into the commentary with the president. And thank you guys for joining. And again, I appreciate every single one of you, and may God bless every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's go.
Everybody. It's a big day. Should be fun. I don't know. You'll maybe find reasons why it's not. But I can imagine
Just
because we have a lot of great things happening. It's been a very strong week and a very strong weekend.
Just bear with me, guys. The camera system is going to get better over time, I promise.
The historic events that took place over the last few days. One Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire. I think a permanent.
There he talks about it. Ceasefire with Pakistan and India.
Of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons. And they were going at it hot and heavy, and it was seemingly not going to stop. And I'm very proud to let you know that the leadership of India and Pakistan was unwavering, powerful, but unwavering in both cases. Having these, they really were, from the standpoint of having the strength and the wisdom and fortitude to fully know and to understand the gravity of the situation. And we helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on, we're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop. And they have. And they did it for a lot of reasons. But trade is a big one. We're going to do a lot of trade with Pakistan. We're going to do a lot of trade with India. We're negotiating with India right now. We're going to be soon negotiating with Pakistan. And we stopped the nuclear conflict. I think it could have been a bad nuclear war. Millions of people could have been killed. So I'm very proud of that. I also want to thank Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio for their work and efforts. They worked very hard on that. We also, as you know, created a situation where the Houthis, for the first time ever, have ceased firing, and they've let it be known that they're not going to be firing at American ships anymore, not going to be firing at Americans anymore. This was a heavy barrage that lasted for approximately 50 days. And as you know, they've been in war essentially for forever. But over the last 10 years, they've been very difficult for other countries. Nobody was able to do what we did. But they stopped, and we take their word for it. Their surrogates and them directly said, we don't want to do this anymore. And so we were satisfied with that. In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs. Because they don't want to pay 25, 50, or 100% tariffs, so they're moving them back to the United States. I spoke to Tim Cook this morning, and he's going to, I think, even up his numbers, $500 billion. He's going to be building a lot of plants in the United States for Apple, and we look forward to that. I really do look forward to that. But he talks, he's very friendly, the relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories, they were having a lot of unrest. And they were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week. We have some other things we're doing. But one of the biggest things that we're doing, and I don't know people realize this, but we made a great deal with China, a great trade deal, but it was a much bigger deal originally, and then they canceled it right in the last day. Some of you faces I remember were there when that happened. I remember you. And we had a deal where they opened up their country to trade with the United States, and they took that away at the last moment, and then I canceled the whole thing, and then 6 months later we ended up doing a smaller deal, but it was a big deal. It was $50 billion worth of product that they were going to purchase from our farmers, etc. And we agreed to that. People thought it was 15 because they were doing 15. We made it 50 because I misunderstood the 15. I thought I said, you got to get 50. Because when I asked, if you remember the story, when I asked, what are we doing with them? My Secretary of Agriculture at the time, Sonny Perdue, said, sir, it's about 15 billion and we're asking for 15. And I thought he said 50. So I said, so they came back with the deal at 15, and I said, no way, I want 50, because you said 50. They said, sir, we didn't say that. Anyway, bottom line, I said, go back and ask for 50, and they gave us 50. And they were honoring the deal, and we would call them up a lot for the corn and for the wheat and for everything. They were honoring the deal, and then when Biden got in, they no longer honored the deal. There was nobody to call. I would call on an average of once every 2 weeks to say, come on, you have to speed it up a little bit. And our farmers were doing great. I said to them, buy more land and bigger tractors, if you remember. That's what happened. But the deal was a very good deal. But the best part of the deal was that we opened up China. China agreed to open itself up to American business to go in. And it would have been a great thing, I think, for China. They would be able to see things that they haven't seen. They would be able to buy products that they have never been able to buy. Would have been great for American business. I think it would have brought unity between China, better unity between China and the United States. And the bottom line is that they canceled it the last day. We were all set to sign it, and I went a little bit angry. I got a little angry. They said they canceled the deal. The deal was done. It was all ready to be signed. And people went over there, came back to me, sir, they don't want to sign the opening up China. Well, the biggest thing that we're discussing is the opening up China, and they've agreed to do that, but it's going to take a while to paper it. You know, that's not the easiest thing to paper. But that's the single, I think, to me, and some people would disagree. Some people would say we're getting a lot of money with tariffs or whatever, but, you know, especially when you add what we already have. Because remember, we're already getting the 50% on steel and different things. That's not included in these numbers, so you can add that. But the biggest thing to me is the opening up. I think it would be fantastic for our businesses if we could go in and compete with China. It would be a lot of jobs for China. It would be, I think, at a time when they can frankly use the jobs, and that's what we're talking about. So that's a very, very important element to add. So when Scott, I watched him speak the other day, and I think he didn't want to say it, but I said, it's okay to say it. Look, if we don't get it, we don't get it. But if we don't get it, it won't be a positive thing. But if we do get it, I think it's maybe the most important thing to happen. Because if you think about it, we opened up our country to China. They come, we don't, I mean, they have very few restrictions. And they didn't open their country to us. Never made sense to me. It's not fair. And they've agreed to open China, fully open China. And I think it's going to be fantastic for China. I think it's going to be fantastic for us. And I think it's going to be great for unification and peace. China will also suspend and remove all of its non-monetary barriers. They've agreed to do that. While they're very numerous, but again, to me, the biggest thing that came out of that meeting is they've agreed, now we have to get it papered, but they've agreed to open up China. It's going to be great for everybody. And third, I'm very happy to announce that Idan Alexander, an American citizen who until recently most thought was no longer living, thought was dead, is going to be released in about 2 hours, actually. And he's going to be released before the eyes of Steve Woodcock, who's done a fantastic job. I just, I know a lot of people that have a lot of talent. I know Steve had a lot of talent. But I know a lot of people with a lot of talent, but there's one that I thought had a special way about him, special personality. Aside from being a good deal maker, had a special way about him, and it was Steve. Knew very little about the subject matter, who does? But he learned it in about 2 hours. And he's been fantastic, so I want to just thank Steve. But they're going to be releasing Idan in about 2 hours from now, or sometime. And again, they thought he was dead just a short while ago. His parents are so happy. They're so happy. So it's, as you know, Idan's the only American citizen that's captured and held hostage by Hamas since October 7th, 2023. And he's coming home to his parents. To me, it's big news. They thought he was dead. So that's it. So we'll be heading there, and we'll be seeing 3 primary countries. You know all about that: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. On Thursday's meeting with Russia and Ukraine is very important. I was very insistent that that meeting take place. I think good things can come out of that meeting. Stop the bloodshed of the horrible, it's a bloodbath. But that 5,000 more, it's really much more, trying to be conservative, more than 5,000 soldiers. Russian, they're not American soldiers, they're from Russia, they're from Ukraine, but they're people. They're human souls, and they're being killed at levels that we haven't seen since the Second World War. And it's every week. A lot of drone fighting. It's a whole new form of warfare, and it's violent and vicious. And so that's it. I'd like to go back to China just for a second. They're very heavy on the fentanyl. We're charging them, as you know, 20% for the fact that they send fentanyl into our country. And they've agreed that they're going to stop that. And, they'll be rewarded by not having to pay, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. So the fentanyl should stop. It comes from China. It's amazing. And comes through our southern border, comes through our northern border too, comes through Canada, and comes through our southern border, much more through the southern border. But so that's a very important subject to me, because everybody in this room has lost friends or people that have family members that have died of fentanyl. So there's a big incentive for China to stop, and I take them at their word. They're going to work on that, I think, very hard. And one thing, when they work on something, they get it done. So now I'm about to depart on a historic visit. Some of you are going with us to, as I said, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. Before I do, I'll sign one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. I don't think there's ever been anything signed like this, certainly not with respect to healthcare, nothing even close. I'm delighted to be joined on this occasion by Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's doing a really good job, I have to tell you that. CMS administrator, a friend of mine, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is an amazing guy. I was telling Bobby before, Oz had a very successful show, but it hurt his reputation. Because when you're in show business, it hurts your reputation a little bit. It's good for you, but in terms of professionalism and being a doctor, it sort of hurts your reputation. This guy went to the best schools, was the best, top of the line. Then he did a television show, became a success. Made a lot of money, all that stuff, but it sort of hurt him. And you know who I compare that to? I hate to say this, but a special woman, Janine Pirro. She was the toughest, smartest DA, maybe in our countries, in our cities and states history, New York. She was really tough, really sharp. Then she did a show, and people didn't think of her quite the same way. She became more of an entertainment person, like us. Oz is not an entertainer. He's not really an entertainer. You know the real story, and she isn't either. She is unbelievable. She was one of the strongest district attorneys in the history of New York. Highly respected, very tough. Went after the drug dealers at a level that you don't see today anymore. And hopefully she's given up a tremendous, she's leaving the #1 show on cable television, one of the #1 shows on television, period. The 5, but they've got great people left behind, but she was a big part of it. And so I equated to that. Janine Pirro is unbelievable. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary, with a reputation that's second to none, and the job he's doing already has been fantastic. Thank you, Marty. And Director of National Institute of Health, BHATTACHARYA, who has been, as you know, from Stanford, so highly regarded, and they've all been working with us very hard on this. And the question they would ask, being a little bit new to the government aspect of it, is why doesn't somebody fight the drug price situation, meaning equalization? There's a term, it's called equalization. Nobody wants to mention that term. And I'm not knocking the drug companies, I'm really more knocking the countries than the drug companies, because they're forced to do things. But the drug lobby is the strongest lobby in this country. They said, the drug lobby. It's between that and lawyers. And they have a lot of power. But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what, for the same drug, that what we pay many, many times more for. And will no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And the European Union suing all our companies, Apple, Google, Meta, they're suing all our companies. They end up, they have judges that are European Union-centric, and they get rewarded 15 billion, 17 billion, 20 billion, and they use that to run their operation. Not going to happen any longer, that I can tell you. So what's been happening is we've been subsidizing other countries throughout the world, not just in Europe, throughout the world. European Union was the most difficult from what I understand. I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. He's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? Well, I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I paid $1,300. What the hell is going on? He said, so I checked. And it's the same box, made in the same plant, by the same company. It's the identical pill that I buy in New York. And here I'm paying $88 in London. In New York, I'm paying $1,300. Now, this is a great businessman, but he's not familiar with this crazy situation that we have. But he was stunned. But it was just one of those stories. And I brought it up with the drug companies, represented by somebody who's very, very smart, good person too. And we argued about it for about half hour, and then finally he just said, because they can't justify it, he just said, look, you got me. You got me. I can no longer they've been justifying this crap for years. They said, oh, it's research and development. Well, I said, well, research and development, other countries should pay research and development too. It's to their benefit. So it's just one of those things. And the other countries would set a price, and they'd meet the price, and they'd say, if you don't meet the price, you can't sell it in our country. I said, well, then you walk away, and, they'll cut you back, and they'll sell it in the country. But now they'll have to do that. So for the first time in many years, we'll slash the cost of prescription drugs, and we will bring fairness to America. Drug prices will come down by much more, really, if you think. 59, if you think of a drug that is sometimes 10 times more expensive, it's much more than the 59%. It depends on the way you want to analyze it, but in one way you could analyze it that way. But between 59 and 80, and I guess even 90%. So when I worked so hard in the first.
And guys, when you hear the president talk about common sense politics, this is one of those instances where, other countries will tell you how much they put millions of dollars into research and development, but yet still, for the life of that drug, they're selling it for an exorbitant amount of money, like they're never going to make their money back. Listen, they sell a couple 100,000 units of that drug, research and development is paid. This is just a way for them to keep taking money, keep lining their pockets. And this is the kind of evil President Trump is going up against. Common sense. And sometimes you need a businessman to come in and say, hey, listen, man, that's not how it works. Research and development is one thing. You paid money into it, but you got your returns back already. Research and development was done 5 years ago. You more than got your money back. Time to bring down drug prices. And that's why people, remain sick in our country, because they don't have access to a lot of these drugs. And what President Trump is doing, he's saying, nah, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do the exorbitant price gouging, the overtaxing, it's enough. And it's true. It is enough. It's about time all these millionaires that made money, you made money already. So just let the people have this.
Chairman, if I got prices down, remember I was the only one to ever get prices down for a full year, but I'd get them down like 2%, and I thought it was like a big deal. Well, we're getting them down 60, 70, 80, 90%, but actually more than that if you think about it in the way mathematically. And Farmer has to say, we're sorry, but we'll not be able to do this any longer to these countries that have been so tough. They've been very tough, nasty. It's trade. It's trade. And Farmer is also very powerful. And the Democrats have protected farmers. This is the Democrats have protected farmers. These are the Democrats. And by the way, I just called the Speaker of the House, and I just called the leader, our leader in the Senate, John Thune, Mike Johnson. Spoke to both of them. I said, when you score, you're going to have to score two things. You're going to have to, number one, score that hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is coming in. But even bigger than that, you're going to have to score that your costs for Medicaid and Medicare and just basically pharmaceuticals and drugs is
Got to go down
at a level that nobody has
has to
seen before. It'll pay for the Golden Dome. I see the Golden Dome is there, see? That'll easily pay for the Golden Dome. And we'll have a lot of money left over. We need the Golden Dome, by the way, in this world. Although this world's a lot safer today than it was a week ago. And a lot safer than it was 6 months ago. We had people that had no clue what they were doing. So today Americans spend 70% more for prescription drugs than we spent in the year 2000. Think of that. Our country has the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by sometimes a factor of 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's not like they're slightly higher, they're 6, 7, 8 times. There are even cases of 10 times higher. So that you go 10 times more expensive for the same drug, that's big numbers. Even though the United States is home to only 4% of the world's population, pharmaceutical companies make more than 2/3 of their profits in America. So think of that. With 4% of the population, the pharmaceutical companies make most of their money, most of their profits from America. That's not a good thing. Now, I think, by the way, pharmaceutical, I have great respect for these companies and for the people that run them. I really do. And I think they did one of the greatest jobs in history for their company, convincing people for many years that this was a fair system. Nobody really understood why, but I figured it out. For years, pharmaceutical and drug companies have said that research and development costs were what they are, for no reason whatsoever. They had to be borne by America alone. Not anymore, they don't. This means American patients were effectively subsidizing socialist healthcare systems in Germany, in all parts of the European Union. They were the toughest of all. They were nasty. And I see that with trade too. European Union is in many ways nastier than China, okay? And we've just started with them. Oh, they'll come down a lot, you watch. We have all the cards. They treated us very unfairly. They sell us 13 million cars, we sell them none. They sell us their agricultural products, we sell them virtually none. They don't take our products. That gives us all the cards, and very unfair. So they're gonna have to pay more for healthcare, and we're gonna have to pay less, that's all it is. Believe it or not, because it's really the world we're talking about, not just the European Union, but because it's the world, the numbers are for the healthcare company not as bad as you would think. They'll make the same. I think the healthcare companies should make pretty much the same money. I really don't believe they should be affected very much, because it's just a redistribution of wealth. It's a redistribution where it could be the same top line, but it's going to be distributed differently. Europe's going to have to pay a little bit more. The rest of the world's going to have to pay a little bit more, and America's going to pay a lot less. Again, because it's a much smaller population than when you think of the whole world. So basically what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to equalize, where we're all going to pay the same. We're going to pay what Europe's going to pay. We're going to all pay. Now, there may be some countries in dire need, and I would be willing to sacrifice that and help them. But it's called most favored nation. We're going to pay the lowest price there is in the world. We will get whoever is paying the lowest price. That's the price that we're going to get. So remember that. So we're no longer paying 10 times more than another country. Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will say that's the price we're going to pay. Most favored nations, that's what it is. One breast cancer drug costs Americans over $16,000 per bottle, but the same drug from the same factory, manufactured by the same company, is 1/6 that price in Australia and 1/10 that price in Sweden. 1/10 for the identical product. A common asthma drug costs almost $500 here in America, but costs less than $40 in the United Kingdom. So $40 in the United Kingdom, which is where this gentleman told me he paid a small amount for his shot. But think of that. So $40 versus $500 here. That's not even bad. There are much worse examples. And the weight loss drug, Ozempic, costs 10 times more in the United States than in the rest of the developed world. 10 times more. Why? Why? What did we do? Suckers. But we never had a president that had the courage to do this. And nobody knew the system like I do. I mean, I've gotten to know this system so well. And I don't think it's fair that it benefits Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. It's not a good health care. it works. I made it work. I had an obligation to make it work, or an obligation to let it die. I chose that we had to make it work. I had to make it as good as possible. And I had a choice. I could have let it fail or make it as good as possible. As good as possible means it was still not very good, but it survived. And we did the right thing. But this makes everything work. And I don't want to have a bad form of healthcare work because of the fact I was able to cut drug prices by 80 or 90%. So we're going to maybe come up with something. I think this gives the Republicans a chance to actually do a healthcare that's much better than Obamacare and for less money, which if you guys would work on that along with Congress. But I do want to say that Democrats could have done this a long time ago. They have fought like hell for the drug companies, and they knew they were doing the wrong thing. And it's going to be very hard. I was just telling the leader and the speaker that it's going to be very hard for the Democrats to vote against the one big, beautiful deal. The greatest tax cuts in history, greatest everything, but now you have the big drug prices because that's going to be included. It makes that whole situation different from a scoring standpoint. I just told them, I called them up about this. I said, I'm going to do something that's going to be very monumental, and you're going to be scoring. You better tell your people that this is going to score really well, and then add hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs to your list also. But as big as the tariffs are, this is something that really hits quickly. 5 years ago, I signed an executive order to confront this disaster, but only confront it in a minor way. It was a good confrontation, but never to this extent. It took people a little while to understand a very complicated system. But Joe Biden, without any knowledge of what he was doing, terminated the policy and then pretended to negotiate under a new system. And then you take a look, 5 out of the 10 drugs that he negotiated are now over 200% more expensive in America than the rest of the world, and far more expensive than when he even got involved. Much more expensive than when he got involved. Joe Biden's plan was as you know, because you wrote about it, you don't say it very loudly, but it was a very big failure, was his whole presidency. First, I'm directing the U.S. trade representatives and Department of Commerce to begin investigations into foreign nations that extort drug companies by blocking their products unless they accept bottom line and very low dollar amounts for their product, unfairly shifting the cost burden onto American patients. And we'll be taking a look at that very strongly. The biggest thing we're going to do is we're going to tell those countries, like those represented by the European Union, that that game is up. Sorry. And if they want to get cute, then they don't have to sell cars into the United States anymore. It's a very big subject. And they won't get cute, because I'll defend the drug companies from that standpoint. They were given a price by the European unions and other countries. This is what you do. This is what we're going to pay. We're not going to pay any more. Let America pay the difference, because it was a big shortfall. Let America pay it. And that's what we did, but we're not doing it anymore. Next, my administration will secure what we're calling most favored nations drug pricing. The principle is simple. Whatever the lowest price paid for a drug in other developed countries, that is the price that Americans will pay. We're using the term other developed countries because there are some countries that need some additional help, and that's fine. I think that's very good. Some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries. To accelerate these price restrictions and reductions, my administration will also cut out the middlemen. We're going to totally cut out the famous middlemen. Nobody knows who they are, middlemen. I've been hearing the term for 25 years, middlemen. I don't know who they are, but they're rich, that I can tell you. We're going to cut out the middlemen and facilitate the direct sale of drugs at the most favored nation price directly to the American citizen. So we're cutting out probably the middlemen. It's so important, right? You got to do that. They're worse than the drug companies. They don't even make a product, and they make a fortune. Good, very smart business people, that I can tell you. If companies make no significant progress toward most favored nation pricing, which we will insist that they do, so I think I'm wasting time talking about it, we're gonna insist upon it. And we'll insist, and we're gonna help the drug companies with the other nations, because those other nations do a lot of trading with us. They need our trade just like China needed us very badly. And they need us just as badly. That we will do whatever we have to with trade, just like we did some great things with trade with India and Pakistan. Really helped the situation, very heated situation. Could have lost millions of people, more than millions, I mean, many millions of people. And they want to do business with America, but we never used our powers that way. We never knew how. We never had people that knew how to do that. We'll also open up America's market to safe and legal imports of affordable drugs from other countries, putting dramatic downward pressure on prices. And if necessary, we'll investigate the drug companies, and we'll, in particular, investigate the countries that are doing this, and we will add it onto the price that we charge them for doing business in America. In other words, we'll add it onto tariffs if they don't do what is right, which is everybody should equalize, everybody should pay the same price. And special interests may not like this very much, but the American people will. I'm doing this for the American people. I'm doing this against the most powerful lobby in the world, probably the drug lobby, drug and pharmaceutical lobby. But it's one of the most important orders I think that's ever been signed, certainly with regard to healthcare or health in the history of our country, and it's an honor to be a part of it. And I'd like to ask Robert F. Kennedy to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party. Every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on the side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $1,126 per capita on drugs. In Britain, they spend about $240. They spend 1/5 of what we do. And this is true across Europe. And the drug companies, Europeans, if you ask them, it made no sense what they were saying. America has to pay for this innovation or it's not going to happen. President Trump is saying to our European partners is you've got to raise the amount that you're paying for those drugs and pay for your share of the innovation. that the United States is no longer subsidizing that. If the Europeans raise the price of their drugs by just 20%, that is $10 trillion. That can be spent on innovation, and the health of all people all across the globe is going to increase because we're going to have better products. So I'm just so grateful to be here today. I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. I have a couple of kids who are Democrats, are big Bernie Sanders fans, and when I told them that this was going to happen, they had tears in their eyes because they thought this is never going to happen in our lifetime, and we finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people. Thank you, and Dr. Oz.
Thanks, Secretary Kennedy. This is the most powerful executive order on pharmacy pricing and healthcare ever in the history of our nation. And it's only happening because we have a president with the fortitude, the guts to stand up to the withering criticism and lobbying that's going to occur as soon as folks hear about the executive order. So on behalf of the child in Philadelphia who's got an autoimmune disease with a $1,000 a month drug, or the older woman in Los Angeles who's on a blood thinner who can't afford her copay, I want to thank President Trump. God bless you for having the guts to take on this industry. Thank you, sir. So let's talk about the details a little bit. And this is primarily about equalization, as President Trump said. It's about fairness. Think of NATO as a metaphor. When President Trump said, you've got to pay a little more, so it makes sense for all of us, they came up. And European countries contributed. The same thing we believe will happen in this situation. Most people who have thought about this process agree that it is patently unfair to tolerate the numbers that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump have reflected to you. On this chart to my left is a list of the 10 drugs that were negotiated in the IRA. Again, this is the bill, the law, that regulates a negotiation process. This is the best price that was able to be obtained by the Biden administration. And if you look at these numbers, they actually reflect how much on top of the most favored nation price was being paid by the United States. So the closest to me, Bob, you can point to the chart, yes, the closest one, 289%, the one that's closest to you. That means that we are paying in America 4 times more than that drug costs in other countries. Again, 100% is the baseline. It's 289% above that baseline. It goes all the way down to when we're paying 50% more than any other country. That's the range. As was pointed out by President Trump, half the time we're paying 3 times more than is paid in other countries. It doesn't make any sense for the system. That stated, President Trump has over and over again indicated, and Secretary Kennedy reflected as well, we want innovation. We want our technology partners doing the best they can to make the best solutions for drugs that cure as many people in America and around the world as possible. By getting our allies to pay a bit more, as they should be, and they should have for many years been doing, will course correct a problem that's gotten out of hand. And by doing that in a thoughtful, effective way, we're going to be able to get the pharmaceutical industry whole. Those jobs will still be here, will still be productive, will still be curing cancer and a slew of other ailments that plague humanity. America will still be the leader in this space, but we're paying the appropriate amount, the right-sized amount for those tasks. So over the next 30 days, the 4 of us up here, together with people standing in the back of this room, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting, are going to be approaching pharmaceutical companies to talk specifically about what we want the most favored nation price to be based on the best data we have. We're looking forward to a thoughtful interaction with these corporate leaders, many of whom we've spoken to and in quiet will agree the system is not right the way it is. They're patriotic Americans, they want what's right. But the fact that in my lifetime, as Secretary Kennedy said, for the first time, we have a thoughtful and aggressive approach, thanks to President Trump, on taking on these special interests. I should give all Americans confidence that this is an administration that stands for fairness, and it should chill the waters for those who believe they can push us away from our North Star, which is to take care of the American people. Mr. President, God bless you. Jay, you want to go next?
So I teach economics at Stanford as well as health policy. And one thing that's really, really simple in economics is that when you have a persistent price difference for the same product between 2 countries, there's something deeply wrong. And what President Trump has done is a historic measure that should have been done a long time ago. What we're going to do is make sure that those prices become much closer to equal, like a competitive market you expect. Right now, what's happening is the American people are subsidizing in large fraction the research and development efforts for drug companies around the world by the higher prices that we pay. With this new order, Europe will share the burden of that. And in fact, if you may think of it as like as somehow it's like it's going after drug companies, actually it's helping drug companies. Because what we're also going to do with this order, what President Trump has done with this order, is he's said to European governments, look, if you are taking advantage of the drug companies by forcing them to charge very, very low prices, we're going to defend American drug companies in Europe. At the same time, we're standing up for the American consumer who's been paying far too high prices for far too long. I can go back decades to point to congressional report after government report after government report of tremendously high drug prices, much higher than the rest of the world, and nothing has been done about it until the moment. And I'm really, really proud, President Trump, so that you've done this. I'm really proud to be included in this. I'm looking forward to the work ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the many doctors I've talked to about this very issue, thank you for taking the bull by the horns. Presidents on both sides of the aisle have talked about this and floated it and said they wanted to do it, so you've had the courage to do it. Thank you. I've been a surgical oncologist at Johns Hopkins for 22 years, and I have seen patients suffer. We didn't take an oath to heal patients and then watch their life get ruined financially, with their home, mortgage, retirement, going down the drain with GoFundMe campaigns, raising money from church communities and synagogues and friends they haven't seen in 20 years to try to raise money for what? For a system where Americans have been getting ripped off by 10, 12, 15 times higher prices than we see in other countries. The fundamental problem in healthcare is that we've had non-competitive markets. We can do little things around the edges, or we can transform those markets to competitive markets, and that's what this executive order does today. Imagine buying a Ford for $175,000, a regular car, and then hearing that people in London are buying it for $10,000 every day, all day long. That is the craziness of this system. We're going to do everything we can at the FDA to support this executive order. It's transformative. Thank you, Mr. President.
So thank you very much, everybody. I think it's a very important day in many ways. We'll start with the Houthis. We go to Pakistan and India. We go to what we did with China, the trade deal, and with UK. And by the way, many other deals are coming in very much. At a certain point, we'll just set the price because we know where we are. But we'll just set the price. But world trade is going to be terrific, and our country is going to be making a lot of money. Taxes are going to go down. Taxes are going to go down very, very substantially. But you look at all of the things that we've done, and now today I'm heading over. We'll see what we're going to do with respect to Iran. I think you have very good things happening there too, by the way. I think can't have a nuclear weapon, but I think that they are talking intelligently. We're in the midst of talking to them, and they're right now acting very intelligent. We want Iran to be wealthy and wonderful and happy and great. Well, they can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. So I think they understand that I mean business, and I think they're being very reasonable thus far. And don't underestimate Thursday in Turkey. President Erdogan is going to be a great host, and we are doing some work with him having to do with Syria too, by the way. We're going to have to make a decision on the sanctions, which we may very well relieve. We may take them off of Syria because we want to give them a fresh start. But President Erdogan's asked me about that. Many people have asked me about that because the way we have them sanctioned, it doesn't really give them much of a start. So we want to see if we can help them out. So we'll make that determination. But I think you're going to have maybe a good meeting. You have the potential for a good meeting, that a meeting wasn't going to take place. I insisted that that meeting take place. And it is taking place. And I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings. But I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen. But we got to get it done. We got to save 5,000 lives a week. 5,000 lives are really more than that. It's worse than that. And when you see and you don't want to see it, but when you see the satellite photographs of the battlefield with arms and legs and heads all over the place, separated by 30 yards from bodies, doesn't make sense, doesn't make sense. So we're working very hard to see if we can end that bloodbath. Okay, there shouldn't be too many questions. It's been covered pretty well.
Mr. President, thank you for taking questions. Two quick ones for you, starting on trade. If a longer-term deal is not reached with China at the end of these 90 days, can the American people expect those tariffs to go back up to 145%?
No, but they would go up substantially higher. You know, at 145, you're really decoupling because nobody's going to buy. But they can go, they got very high because of additional tariffs I applied during the course because of fentanyl and other things. But no, but they go substantially higher.
And then on Qatar, Mr. President,
I think you will have a deal, however.
okay, you're confident that there will be a deal. On Qatar, has Qatar asked for anything in exchange for that $400 million luxury jumbo jet? And how can the American people be so sure that they will not in the future?
Well, I think what happens with the plane is that, you know, we're very disappointed that it's taking Boeing so long to build a new Air Force One. You know, we have an Air Force One that's 40 years old. And if you take a look at that compared to the new plane of the equivalent, you know, stature at the time, it's not even the same ballgame. You look at some of the Arab countries and the planes they have parked alongside of the United States of America planes, it's like from a different planet. And it's close to 40 years old, might be more than 40 years old now. And we, when I first came in, I signed an order to get it built. I took it over from the Obama administration. They had originally agreed, I got the price down much lower. And then when the election didn't exactly work out the way that it should have, a lot of work was not done on the plane because a lot of people didn't know. They made change orders that were so stupid, so ridiculous. And it ended up being a total mess, a real mess. And when I came back, I said, by the way, what's going on with the Boeings that are coming in? Well, sir, they're way behind. And they are, they're way behind. They were way behind another mess that I inherited from Biden. And it's going to be a while before we get them. And I think Qatar, who has really, we've helped them a lot over the years in terms of security and safety. I think they, and very, very nicely, and I have a lot of respect for the leadership and for the leader, Qatar. And I think they knew about it because they buy Boeings. They buy a lot of Boeings. And they knew about it. And they said, we would like to do something. And if we can get a 747 as a contribution to our Defense Department to use during a couple of years while they're building the other ones, I think that was a very nice gesture. Now, I could be a stupid person and say, oh no, we don't want a free plane. We give free things out, we'll take one too. And it helps us out because again, we're talking about, we have 40-year-old aircraft. The money we spend, the maintenance we spend on those planes to keep them tippy-top is astronomical. You wouldn't even believe it. So I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much. I would never be one to turn down that kind of an offer. I mean, I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane. But I thought it was a great gesture. And I think it was a gesture because of the fact that we have helped and continue to, we will continue to, all of those countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and others, we keep them safe. If it wasn't for us, they probably wouldn't exist right now. And I think this was just a gesture of good faith. And I don't get it. Someday it'll be like Ronald Reagan. They decommission them. You know, they get to a certain age, they decommission them. It'll go to my library. They're talking about going to my library in years out. But I thought it was a great gesture. And it's something that was done by Ronald Reagan. They actually decommissioned the plane and he put it in his library. And it actually has made the library, I think of Boeing 707, it's actually made the library more successful. So it was good.
Do you plan to use the plane after you leave office?
No, I don't. No, It would go directly to the library after I leave office. I wouldn't be using it. No.
Mr. President, on the hostage, you said that the release of the American hostage, Alan Alexander, is a step in good faith to end this war. Do you expect any progress, perhaps announcement of ceasefire during your trip to the Middle
We
East?
hope that we're going to have other hostages released too, as you know. So when I met with the hostages 3 weeks ago that were there for quite a while, you remember the 10 people that came in, mostly young people, 1 or 2 a little bit older. And they were explaining the trials and tribulations. I mean, they went through hell. And I said, how many are there? They said 59. I said, that's a lot. I didn't realize, because we get a lot out. You know, we got a lot of hostages out, I think you will acknowledge. They said 59, but then they said, they followed that up by saying 59, of which 24 are living, the rest are dead. But the people whose son, mostly son, I think 1 daughter in this case, but mostly sons are there, or husbands are there. Those people want the dead bodies as much as they want the live body. I have a mother that calls me, that came up to me when I first met her, and she said, sir, please get my son out. He's dead, but they have his body. And I asked her about that, and it's as though he were alive. The level of wanting that body back is the same. Couldn't be any more, as though he were alive. So, getting the bodies back is very important. It could be a thing having to do with the religion. It could be said. I was amazed at the level of importance. It's the same as if the son or husband or whatever was alive. So they said 59. In fact, they came in with a number 59 written out on like a sign on their chest. They came to thank me for getting them out. And I said, what does the 59 mean? They said, well, that means there are 59 people. But then they said, but 24 are living. Now it's 21. The number's 21. So now it's actually, we'll get Eton today. We think we're getting him today. So it's 20. So they have 20 live hostages there. The rest are dead bodies.
Mr. President, are you open to negotiating your tariffs on cars, steel, and aluminum with China or any other country?
Well, we're not even talking about that. We're bringing the car business back into this country. We have commitments, not only commitments, they've already started construction on many plants. They've left Mexico in a few cases. In a few cases, they've left Canada. They're not going to build in Canada. They're going to build here because we have the market, and the tariffs have been amazing. The election and the tariffs. November 5th was a big day, and on top of that, of course, you wouldn't have the tariffs without the election, I guess, if you look at it. But we have at least 11 committed massive car factories that are going to be built and that are in the process of being built. And some are going through, some have actually started. We also have renovations of existing factories where they weren't utilizing the full factory from years gone by. And now they're under full renovation. They'll be opening up full factories in a very short period of time. Our car industry, I think we're going to have the #1 industry. If you look at Japan and these others, they do tremendously with cars, and they can do that too. If they want to sell cars in the United States, they're going to have to build factories in the United States, because I'm interested in cars for the United States. So one other thing is, in our tax bill, we're giving not only no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, but also we're going to get a deduction for people that borrow money to buy a car if it's made in America. If it's not, we have no interest.
After meeting with President Putin as well as President Zelensky, if President Putin doesn't show up to these talks in person in Turkey, will you join Europe in putting higher sanctions on
If I felt it would be important toward getting the deal done, I'm the one that insisted on the meeting. They couldn't get a meeting because one said ceasefire, one said no ceasefire. It was going back and forth. I said, look, at this point, we got to stop it. Just go to the meeting. The meeting's been set. Go to the meeting on Thursday. And if I thought it would be helpful, I don't know where I'm going to be at that particular point. I'll be someplace in the Middle East, but I would fly there if I thought it would be helpful. Yeah, please.
Refugees. Dozens of Afrikaners who claim discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States.
Right.
Your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they talk about it. That would be the only story they talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people and to escape from that violence and come here. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you. Are you letting China off the hook for these 90 days, and do you really believe that they will follow through with non-tariff barriers and
Non-monetary tariffs, yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to follow through. I think they want it very badly. I think they want the deal very badly. Again, this doesn't include the steel tariffs that I put on a long time ago that Biden tried to get off, but he couldn't get them off because it was too much money. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China, what a lot of people don't know, but we put on the tariffs originally. And if I didn't do that, we wouldn't have a steel industry today. Now we have a thriving steel industry. It'll be thriving much more with what we're doing because this is the next level. But it doesn't include that, doesn't include cars, doesn't include pharmaceuticals when we do that. And the reason we're doing that will be to get them to come back into the country. There are, again, I always say it because a lot of people forget, but if a company like Eli Lilly, which is making a massive investment in the United States right now, they're building many, many plants. They've already started like 7 of them, many plants, but they are not going to be tariffed. There's no tariff cost. So they're all doing that. They're all coming back to the United States. I mean, I'll tell you what, I hope I get the benefit of watching this because, as president, because, it takes a little while to do this stuff. And we're doing it early in the administration. If you think of it, we have, I believe, if you look at the real total, it's over $10 trillion committed for plants and factories. Other administrations haven't had $1 trillion over a 4-year period, even over an 8-year period. We have over 10 trillion committed in one form or the other over 2 months. Give me a break. I'm here to hear 3, but let's give me a break on the first month. We want to get that committed in. But if you think about it, it's really 2 months. And so in 2 months, we have an investment already of over $10 trillion. And other presidents haven't had that done over a year, over 4 years in some cases. It's unprecedented. There's never been anything like it. It's a very exciting time in America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. President, are you ready to impose sanctions on Russia if Putin doesn't agree with the 30-day
I have a feeling
ceasefire?
they're going to agree. I do. I have a feeling.
And we see other countries, no European countries, involved, Mr. President, in the negotiations.
The budget bill negotiations are taking place. Who in your administration is in charge of that while you're gone?
Well, everybody, lobby from the standpoint of medical, this group behind me, I mean, I think it's the best group ever assembled. In terms of medical, I think you're going to see a tremendous cut. I don't think, I mean, I know you're going to see it in Medicaid and Medicare. That cut will be massive because drugs are 50–60% of the cost. So Medicaid costs are going down and Medicare costs are going down because of what we're doing today. And there's no, it's not like, oh, gee, well, maybe it won't happen. It's going to happen because the other countries have no choice. Now, the drug companies are going to have to say, listen, if you don't pay more, we're not going to give you the drug, and they're willing to do that. So that's it. They have to, we have to equalize.
Mr. President, what do you think?
Price controls.
Say it.
How do you respond to the fact that this?
It's not price control, no. What was, price control is before. if you want to talk about price control, is what they were doing. They were making us pay. They set a price, and they said, here's what we're going to pay, and anything else charge America. Because at that time, they had a very stupid president, and it really went crazy during the last 4 years. And remember this, the Democrats are the ones that allowed this to happen. They were the ones that were the protector of this pricing system. And I think it's going to be very hard. You'll have to ask Democrats, are they going to vote against the one great, big, beautiful deal that's being negotiated now, tax cuts, etc. When now on top of the tax cuts and regulation cuts, all the things, now you're going to say that the price of your medicine is going down by 60, 70, 80%. You're going to vote against it? I think a lot of Democrats are going to be forced to do something that their leaders are going to beg them not to do, and that's vote for the bill. I don't see how they can vote against it. How can they vote against it when drug prices, drugs and pharmaceuticals are going to be down 70, 80%? It's going to be very interesting.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it
You're
behind?
ABC fake news, right?
Why not leave
Only ABC, well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. You ever hear of him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto, when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. Then they putt it and they miss it. And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, that's a businessman. Some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received
It's
anything?
not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster. Here is the bill. Bobby, come on over here. Now you're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, a quick question about tariffs. Do you
Thank you very much.
All right, so you just heard live and uninterrupted.
USDA choice ribeye. Wants to go to the boards or not? The lowest prices of any national grocery store. It's an all thing.
With every step, we carry hope, and together we celebrate every win. We carry the memories of those we remember, and we carry it all with strength, ready to fight back. Join us at Relay for Life.
Address it. And one of the problems, what when I met with, and I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in a few months or about a month ago to meet with the food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said, if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us. And without our knowledge or consent. And unfortunately, we're gonna get rid of the dyes, and one by one, we're gonna get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address. One of the problems is that the industry, which all of these industries, cast a dark shadow historically over this agency. And there's so many conflicts that we are now systematically eliminating. That has allowed them to suppress the science. There's shockingly few studies, even on food dyes, and on all these other ingredients as well. And Jay BHATTACHARYA, who is here and who is running the director of NIH, is now narrowly targeting these kind of food additives for scientific study, so that one by one we can start eliminating them where they can. Where we can't, there's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison, and Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this: the typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of American teens, half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget. We can't continue to exist like this. And the problem is industry is making money on keeping us sick. As Jay pointed out, ADHD is associated with all these behavioral disorders. But those disorders are treated not by changing our diet, but providing medications to treat our kids. And they get medicated, and that's the only solution. And, I would point out that there is part of the etiology of these diseases is a kind of media malpractice, mass psychosis that has our media not talking about this. And one of the possible reasons for that is the amount of money that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies for the advertising. The advertising has at least plays a factor. So that revenue, that extraordinary revenue stream, in disabling their capacity or their inclination for skepticism and for critical thinking. So Americans don't know what they're eating, and they don't know the implications of those things. And for those products, Mark Hyman says in his book, the 10-day sugar detox diet, which I'll give a plug to, is a very good book. He talks about how dangerous sugar is and how it's as addictive as crack. And our children are addicted to it from when they're little kids. Our agency recommends, I think, a huge amount of sugar for kids from when they're born. And it's hurting them, and it's addicting them, and it's changing their taste buds so that they crave it. And it's disabling our population. So for those ingredients that we can't ban legally, we're going to start informing Americans about what they're eating. And we're going to try to work with Congress and the White House, make sure that we have adequate labeling so mothers who go into the grocery stores know what is good for their children and what is not. I want to say one other thing about the moms. When I went and spoke for the first time, and I met with the heads of all the food industry companies, one of the things that they said to us is that the worst thing for us is if we have a patchwork of legislation in all these different states, because then we're not capable of marketing nationally distributed products, because we're going to have different regulations in every state. And they didn't want that, and that's one of the reasons they came to the table with us. I want to thank Speaker Schultz. I want to thank Governor Morrissey, and I visited many other governors in Virginia and West Virginia, in Arizona and Utah and other states that are banned, that are having these local bans. But those bans have given us leverage to make demands in the food company. And the only reason that those states have banned these products is because of these ladies and millions of more across the country, the warrior moms who have powered them on. I just want to urge all of you, it's not the time to stop. It's the time to redouble your efforts, because we have them on the run now. And we are going to win this battle. And 4 years from now, we're going to have most of these products off the market. market, or you will know about them when you go in the grocery store. Oh, I want to thank you. And finally, and most importantly, I want to thank President Trump. President Trump often, says that he's going to make America great again. But he knows that he cannot make our country great again if our country is weak, if we're not healthy, if we don't have vigor, if we're not a robust people. He says that he is going to restore the American dream. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. The sick person only has one. And right now, there's 60% of the people in this country who have only one dream. If they can make it through a day without pain, with energy, without having to take medications. And we are going to change that for our country. And I want to thank the moms and thank President Trump for his confidence in my leadership and for allowing me to surround myself with such an extraordinary team of scientists who are going to restore transparency to this agency, who are going to do replicated science, who are going to restore gold standard science so we know what's in our food and we can eliminate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you to the press for attending today. We're going to take some questions from the press. If you can please say your first, last name, and outlet when I call on you, that would be great. Sarah, CNN.
Hi, Sarah Evermall from CNN. Secretary Kennedy, you talked about how sugar is poison and how it's addictive. Is that the next step for you, looking at policies to reduce or even eliminate sugar in food products?
I don't think that we're going to be able to eliminate sugar, but I think what we need to do probably is give Americans knowledge about how much sugar is in their products, and also with the new nutrition guidelines, we'll give them a very clear idea about how much sugar they should be using, which is 0.
Yes.
Hi, Helena Bottomiller, Evich with Food Fix. You mentioned the goal is to work with the food industry to get most of the major synthetic food dyes out. What is the plan if the food industry does not voluntarily agree to do that? And what are the next steps if you can't get agreement from the industry? Thank you.
Well, here the industry has voluntarily agreed. And so, I think as we move forward, we are going to work with the industry. They've shown a lot of leadership on this right now. And in fact, we're getting food companies now and fast food companies who are calling us almost every day and asking us, how do we do this? What do you want us to do? Will you do a press conference with us? And so we're really happy with the reception. I think they're ready to change the industry. They have children too. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. Their children are going to the same schools, they're eating the same foods as the rest of us. And I think most of them really want to have a healthier America. They want clear guidelines, and they want to know what they can and can't do, and we're going to give them that.
Yes.
Hi, Margaret Manto with Notice. I'm wondering if there's any pharmaceutical additives that you'd like to eliminate?
We're going to start on that next. I don't have anything particular about it.
Yes, in the white.
Hi, Emily Kopp, Daily Caller. When will HHS FOIA offices be restored? This is important for many of your stated priorities, adverse events, food.
What is is our FOIA? We're restoring all the FOIA offices, and we're going to make it much easier for people to get the information. We're going to try to post as much as we can. We're going to start a website with all former FOIA requests and the documents that were produced so people don't have to do it again and again. And we're going to try to get as close as we can to total transparency in this agency. You know, I spent a lot of years litigating under FOIA, and I experienced the frustration of going year after year and being stonewalled by the agencies. A lot of the people who are in HHS right now come from that background. So we all understand how important it is to have, you know, clear communication. The papers that we produce in this agency do not belong to us. They belong to the American people, and we need to be honest with them. And let me just answer the question before you about the drugs and the pharmaceutical products and the additives to the pharmaceutical products. Right now, BHATTACHARYA is working is assembling teams all over the country of scientists at universities and research centers to look at all of those products so that we can have, I mean, one of the problems is we don't have good science on everything. And we need to have science before we take policy action. And that science has been suppressed systematically for decades because of the conflicts in this agency. We're going to remove those conflicts. We're doing the science, already doing it. And we'll be announcing a series of grant opportunities this summer on all of these different ingredients. And we're going to have good information for the American public, and then we will take appropriate action.
Ashley?
Ashley DeMello, Fox News Digital. Will there be a way for Americans to identify products that are compliant with this phase out? Such as labeling or?
We're looking at labeling. Labeling, we have to go to Congress for. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to post all the information we have about every additive on an open source website. So that, and we're going to encourage companies that develop apps. There are a number of other apps out there today, like Yucca is one, but there are a number of others. I use Yucca, and my wife used it in our home. Those apps, then you can use, those companies will develop apps in the private marketplace so that mothers can go in, they can scan a barcode of every product in their grocery store, and they can know what's in it and what's not.
Thank you. Jan?
So, Secretary Kennedy, you have a lot of issues on the MAHA agenda, obviously, and I'm very curious if you could share some of the logic of choosing, for example, autism and food dyes and things as some of the kind of inaugural issues that you're coming forward with.
I would say, you know, we're in a triage situation now, so we're choosing our priorities based upon the issues. I mean, the food dye is just a no-brainer. Nobody wants to eat petroleum. Everybody knows there's enough science out there that we know it's terrible for you. It causes health problems, but also behavioral problems. And so we can act on that now. Anything that we can act on, we're going to act on immediately. Some stuff we need science for. We just need to do more science. But a lot of times you hear people say, oh, we're going to do more science on that, and then 10 years go by. That's not going to happen. President Trump wants dramatic change. President Trump wants dramatic change in the next 2 years, and we're going to deliver that for him. In terms of autism, autism is a priority. We've gone from 1 in 10,000 now to 1 in 31, 1 in every 20 boys. This is 1,000 times more impactful to our country from an economic point of view, from a moral point of view, from just from the perspective of just our national well-being, that it has to be, it's costed by 2035, it's going to cost us autism alone, just one of these chronic diseases will cost our country $1 trillion a year. We have to end that, and we have to end that because the children and the families are suffering so terribly. So that has been a priority for me for 20 years, and it will continue to be a priority, and we are going to find the answer very, very quickly, and we're going to eliminate the exposures that are causing it.
Secretary Kennedy, Issam Ahmed here from Agence France Presse. Just on the political dimensions, do you give credit to the former President Joe Biden for getting the ball rolling with Red Dye 3? And as far as the labeling goes, you mentioned you have to go to Congress. Are you in discussions with lawmakers on both sides there regarding improved labeling around food? Thank you.
We have not yet. The time has not yet come for us to put our legislative proposals before Congress. Labeling will be a top priority of proposal for us. In terms of the credit, I credit President Biden for getting it done. I wish it hadn't taken him to 1 week before I came into office before he did it. Just give credit to credit.
Okay, one more question right there in the pink.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Cheryl K. Stolberg from the New York Times. I just want to make sure we understand the parameters of this agreement with the food companies. Do you actually have a settlement with the food companies and a formal agreement for them to adhere to these guidelines? And if so, why don't we have anyone from the food industry here?
I would say we don't have an agreement, we have an understanding, but I'm going to let Marty take this question.
New Airhead Sour starts sour and stays sour.
When you work on cars as much as I do, you learn what matters most. And for me, that's trust. What sets Advance apart is the people. They don't just hand me parts. They help me get back on the road. They've always got the right parts at the right price, right when I need them. Whether you just need your battery tested or you've got years of experience. Advance Auto Parts is right around the corner and ready to help.
This is how we advance.
Let's shift gears quickly here on Live Now from Fox. I believe media is now being led into the Oval Office for the signing, so not taking place in the Rose Garden anymore. Let's just dive into this live event here on Live Now from Fox. Plenty of comments from the president, plenty of questions also to be asked. Let's listen in to what is said here.
Peter, ask him a lot of questions. You all set? So it's an honor to have you back. A friend of mine, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. I know him as Bob, but he's been a good friend for a long time, many years, and he's been after something that is for the good of a lot of people, including, in particular, the public, and having to do with ticket sales and scalping and all of the gouging that you have been reading about. It's gotten worse and worse with time. And I didn't know too much about it, but I checked it out, and it is a big problem. And I thought, I think you've been trying to get this done for 20 years or something. He said, Trump got it done in 2 weeks. But we came up with a very serious EO, and I'm going to sign it now, and maybe I'll ask you, Will, to explain a little bit about it, please.
Of course, sir. So this is an executive order, as you said, that deals with the ticket reselling business. For fans of live entertainment and for entertainers as well, the ticket reselling industry has become a huge issue. These people use bots and computer algorithms to buy up huge blocks of tickets and then jack up the price so that fans of live entertainers like Mr. Ritchie, I almost called him Mr. Rock, don't have access to concerts the way that they should. And when they do, it's at exorbitantly high prices. So what this executive order does It charges the FTC and the Department of Justice with rigorously enforcing laws on the books in collaboration with state attorneys general that have power over consumer protection and other people who have the power to really crack down on this issue so that entertainers and fans won't be subject to these abusive and oftentimes illegal practices.
Good. Thank you very much. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody it doesn't matter your politics. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows that it's a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for, but more importantly, these bots. You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400 or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there'd be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, you know, a hero to working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen. I know a lot of artists and a lot of fans who love concerts and music are going to be very appreciative.
And I think Bob is more interested in the fans and the people that are having to pay crazy prices than he is the artist. Maybe the artist a little bit, but the fans a lot. I've spoken to him over the years about it. And it's been, it bothers him. It bothers a lot of other artists too. See, the artists, and they go out with a $100 ticket and it sells for $2,000 the following night. And they seem to be able to sweep up the best locations too, which is pretty amazing. So
they've only enforced that box act one time, I believe. Yeah. A couple of years ago in New York City, so we got a couple $1 million fine. And that's the only time they've enforced that act.
And who's the primary culprit? Who sells these tickets?
It's the scalpers. It's these bots go in and they're automated, so
But is your company involved? You might not.
No, well, there's reselling markets all, yeah.
I think I know, Peter. But that's all right, don't get them involved, maybe they're more innocent than we think.
Well, if you think of it, like, if Ticketmaster sells a ticket, if you buy a ticket and go to a show, you're in a lot of ways their worst customer. Because they make another 17, whatever percentage every time that ticket resells, so they don't want to enforce the Bots Act necessarily, because they're making more money off it. No, the artists don't see any of that money, but that's not what I'm advocating for, is for me to make more money. I want the fans to have fair ticket price and be able to go and enjoy more shows. I know people that can only, they decide on a family vacation they're going to their favorite concert once a year, rather than, you know, my parents used to go see multiple shows when we could afford them back in their day. And I'd like to take my ticket prices lower, but if I set my ticket prices low, these bots immediately eat them up and they resell for hundreds of dollars more, and I'm just making these bad actors rich.
Well, I think this is a big step to getting it stopped. Do you have something?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually feel that the consumer is going to take the money that they save and actually buy merch, which you guys a big percentage of, or do concessions, which you guys split with the venue on that as well. So I think
We don't share concessions a lot. No, those are, we try to, but they don't want to share it in beer prices and parking or any of that stuff. But the bottom line is there's money for everyone to be paid. There's plenty of money to go around. You know, no one's going to really lose here. You know, Ticketmaster, if we can get a cap, they're going to lose some money, but I've already talked to CEO Michael. He's giving me his word. He's on board for it.
I was talking to Jacoby with Papa Roach earlier, and by the way, he's a big fan of what you're doing, President Trump, digging into this whole scalping and the bots. A lot of musicians, you can say that, they're with,
Florida drivers, do not pay your insurance bill until you hear this.
After 8 years in the car insurance industry, it's time I'll tell you all there.
Well, thank you very much. Please sit down. please, thank you. We have a lot of great political leaders, and the biggest political leaders around, I guess you could say, but by far much bigger are the business leaders. It's not even close. I say that to my friends and politicians. You have the greatest business leaders in the world here, so it's an honor. This week we're celebrating the most successful first 100 days of any administration in American history. We're thrilled to welcome to the White House dozens of the world top leaders of all kinds, but in particular business leaders. And since the election, the companies represented in this room have collectively announced more than $2 trillion in new investments, and we have a total of close to $8 trillion all told. And there's never been anything like that in this country. We've never had anything close. I would say if you looked at the last administration, probably for 4 years they did maybe less than one. And we've done almost 8. I would say we'll be above 8 in a period of 2 months. So something happened. I think two things happened. November 5th happened, and November 5th gave you tariffs, intelligently used tariffs, and various other forms of incentive. But it really is amazing. There's never been, I don't think there's ever been anything like this anywhere in the world. Together we're going to bring back the most beautiful words. I always say made in the USA, the most beautiful words. We're going to have made in the USA like we haven't had before in a long time. In addition to the business leaders whose companies I will mention in just a moment, we have some great people, great senators. Marcia, where are you? Where are you? Martha? Marcia, thank you very much. Marcia Blackburn, Bill Cassidy. Bill, thank you, Bill. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you. And John Newstead. John, thank you very much. And Representatives Byron Donalds, Buddy Carter, Rob Whitman, Mark Alford, Mike Rogers, Richard Hudson, and Abe Hamadeh. Thank you all very much. We have Mike Kehoe, governors, Jim Pillen, Kevin Stitt, Mike Dunleavy, along with numerous other members of my cabinet. And I want to thank you all for being here. How come my cabinet has such good locations? You should have given them up to the business leaders. We want their money, you know. But they have their very good locations. I'm not surprised. 100 days ago this week, we inherited the wreckage of 4 years of economic disaster under the previous administration. It was an economic disaster. It was a disaster at the border like nobody had ever seen before. And you probably see we closed up the border 99.999%, meaning 3 people got in. 3. As opposed to hundreds of thousands of people coming in on a monthly basis, millions of people actually. There are periods where we had millions and millions of people pouring in on a monthly basis. We had 3 people. They buried companies in crippling regulations, waged war on American energy, pushed massive tax hikes, and gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. In Biden's final year, the United States had the worst trade deficit ever recorded, and we lost 106,000 manufacturing jobs. Other than that, he's done a fantastic job. But now all that is changing, and all that's changing very fast, because we finally have the president who wants to put our country first. You have a president who believes in America first. In the first quarter GDP numbers just out today, core GDP, now we're removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3%. But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th. And I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy. But we still had and we've had a lot of things happen since November 5th that helped this economy because it was indicating a strong private sector growth. And it only started after November 5th. The private sector started really heating up after the election. Even though I wasn't there, people knew what we were going to be doing, and the private sector growth was actually very good. Very importantly, gross domestic investment was up an incredible 22%, which they had never seen before. Every new investment, every new factory, and every new job created is a sign of strength in American economy and a declaration of confidence in America's future. We really do. We've never seen anything like this. Even Samsung, whose name isn't mentioned here, but I heard that they announced this morning that they're going to be building a very big plant because they want to be able to beat the tariffs. It's the only way to beat them. The entire Trump economic agenda is about making it easier to do business in America, to create jobs in America, to hire American workers, and to build your factories here in America, not in China or any other country. And we're dealing with many, many countries right now, I will say, and I think I can say for Scott and for Howard and for some of the people that are dealing, there are too many to handle. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to hire some of the people running these companies. Boy, would you do a good job. I could have Jensen negotiate and blow my people away, wouldn't you? I think even Howard would say that. Howard would say, we'll take them. He'd blow them away with big deals. One deal would be the end. That would be it. But we've terminated the Green New scam. It was a scam. And halted tens of billions of dollars of money, wasteful deficit spending. It was like throwing money right out the window. And in the coming weeks, we'll pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And I think even more so, we'll be doing things for business like you've never seen before. You saw it in a little smaller version at the beginning of our last term. You know, we had the most successful 4 years that any president has ever had. The stock market was up 88%. The other markets were up almost 100%. And that's despite COVID and all of the crazy things happening. But we had a tremendous 4 years. Giving credit for that, actually. But our big, beautiful bill, as I call it, our big, name it that actually, will include 100% expensing retroactive to January 20th. So that's all the way back to just about the beginning of the year. So expensing 1 year, you take a deduction 1 year, so you can build your factories right now, essentially almost tax-free, if you think about it. Nobody's ever been given that, and we're going to make that expensing for a 4-year period at a full 100%. So last time we made it 1 year, and you had the deductions. You go from 100% to 80 to 60 to 40 to 20 to zippo. And now what we're going to do is we're going to keep it at that level, and we're going to have it for 4 years. So I believe that was one of the reasons that we had such unbelievable growth. Also, we allowed you to bring money back from outside of the country. It was impossible. You had to have 15 different law firms representing you. It was so complicated. And worse was that the tax rate was 65%. I lowered the rate substantially, but still a lot. You know, we shouldn't take your money just and hold you hostage, right? So we lowered it to a reasonable amount. And we took in trillions of dollars, came back. Apple brought in a tremendous amount of money. A lot of the companies here brought in a lot of money. The businesses represented today clearly understand that if you build your factory in the United States, your tariff rate is 0, 0. And you have other advantages too. And not the least of which is what I just said having to do with it. But now we have to get that bill approved. So call your local representative, please, and make sure that we get it approved, because I don't want to talk too early, but we're doing well with the Republican Congress. We have the Senate is doing great, and the House is doing great. John Thune has been spectacular. Mike Johnson Speaker has been spectacular. Marcia, you're in there working very hard and doing well. What do you think? We're going to get it passed? We have to. Marcia, we don't get it passed, I'm blaming you. We have to get it passed. We will. I think we will. But I don't think we'll have any Democrat votes. If we don't get it passed, what would happen is your taxes go up 68%. Think of that. And we may not get one vote because they just vote against. It's Trump derangement syndrome, or maybe it's just they hate Republicans, or they hate what we're doing because they've lost their confidence. They've totally lost their confidence. They don't know what the hell is going on. And we are going to get it done. It's probably going to be fully Republican. Fortunately, we have the House, we have the Senate. And we may or may not have a couple of grandstanders. I don't know. But if we do, it would be good if you could work on anybody. I mean, if I were a Democrat, I'd be voting for it 100%. Because I think it's very dangerous politically not to vote for it. Think of it, your taxes go up almost 68%. So, but it looks like we're in good shape, I think, and hopefully we'll get it approved. It'll be the biggest bill ever approved in the history of our country, and it'll be the biggest tax cut ever approved in the history of our country. And in addition to that, regulations, which I'm doing in and outside of the bill, will be as big or bigger than we did last time. We have the record for regulation cuts in the 4 years. We cut 4 times higher than any other president in a 4-year period. And we're talking about 8 years and 2-term presidents. We're 4 times higher than any other president in terms of regulation cuts. And I went to a friend of mine who happens to be there, one of the biggest business leaders. I won't mention him because I don't know, maybe he'll like it, maybe he won't. I said to him, so you had your choice between the big tax cut last time and the big regulation cuts, which were the biggest, again, the biggest we've ever done.
Is this the episode with the breakup? Real, we can't agree on the house. Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find one today. Yeah, better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
New Airhead Sour. Starts sour and stays sour.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? These glasses can not only see far away, but also see near. These smart zoom glasses from Japan are really great. No need to wear lenses. The degree can be used from 100 degrees to 700 degrees. The glasses will automatically adapt to your vision, can see clearly far away and near, and are very comfortable to use. It also has the function of blocking blue light. Even if you watch TV or mobile phone for a long time, your eyes will not feel tired. If your vision is not very good or blurry, you might as well try these glasses. I believe you will love it. The lowest price on the market. Scan the QR code to get yours now.
I would have said taxes, but he would have said regulation. I said, which was more important to you? And he said, if I could only have one, yeah, if you could only have one, he said, most important would have been regulation. The regulation was more important than the tax cut. And I mean, we cut your taxes from almost 40% down to 21%. Now we're bringing your taxes down from 21% to 15%. If you build your product, make your product in the USA. So if you make it in the USA, those chips, those beautiful chips, will make those suckers in the USA, and you're going to be all the way down to 15%. And I think there's never been anything like it. So now we're at the lowest scale for a large country, by far the lowest scale. Our pro-jobs, pro-American economic policies are a major reason that businesses around the world have announced $5 trillion of investment since November 5th, and now we think it's up to plus 8 trillion, and they're really coming in. They're really coming in fast. Some of them don't bother calling us. Some of them don't even want meetings. They just start their plants and start their factories. I want to express my tremendous appreciation to the business leaders here. You are really an amazing group. This is a who's who. I don't want to say, there's an expression of something ever went off. The entire industry would be wiped out, but I won't say that. I want to think very positively, and that could never happen here, could it? But I want to congratulate you all on your incredible success and accomplishments. You've been amazing. You're the biggest and the best. So I'd like to introduce some of you, President and CEO of Hyundai, Jose Munoz. Jose, thank you very much. Fantastic. Jose is investing $21 billion, including $5.8 billion for a new steel plant in Louisiana, which is a beauty. I saw a picture of it, which is going to create at least 1,500 jobs, just the plant alone. Thank you very much, Jose. Beautiful. Chairman and CEO of global shipping giant CMA, CGM, Rudolph Sade. Thank you, Rudolph. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Investing $20 billion in creating 10,000 new jobs at least. Thank you very much. It's fantastic. Be very happy. President and CEO of Toyota North America, Ted Ogawa, investing $88 billion. Where's Ted? That's fantastic. Thank you, Ted. That's fantastic. Ted's investing $88 million for car production at its West Virginia factory, which is a beauty. I've seen it, actually. Congratulations. Thank you very much for being here. Ted. Co-founder and CEO of Andrew Brian Schimpf. Oh, Brian. Thank you, Brian. He's investing $1 billion for a new manufacturing facility in Ohio and display. Next to me is their 125-pound Roadrunner drone. Where is that little sucker? Where is it? Which is that? Well, whoa. That's a nasty-looking thing. That's a nasty. I look up there when I'm having dinner outside. I used to look up and see the moon. Isn't it beautiful? Now you see the moon, but you see drones all over the place. And I say, let's get the hell out of here. That's a good one, isn't it, huh? You can see it. CEO of Worldwide Amazon Stores, Doug Harrington. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doug, very much. Investing $4 billion this year alone, and I know they said they're going to be investing a lot over the next 2 years. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. Say hello to everybody. CEO of Venture Global, Mike Sable. Mike, thank you very much, Mike. Investing $18 billion in liquefied natural gas expansion in Louisiana. That's going to work out good. Thank you very much. President and CEO of Siemens USA, big company. Barbara Compton. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much. Investing $285 million. Executive Global Chairman of Pratt Industries, friend of mine, Anthony Pratt. He's investing $5 billion. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. I read a report today he's the richest man in Australia, but who the hell knows? Do you think you're the richest man in Australia? Close. I don't like to put you on the spot like that, Anthony, but that's pretty good. Thank you very much. That's great. $5 billion. Founder and CEO of Chobani Hyundai Oliaka. Where are you? Thank you very much. Investing $1.2 billion. Thank you very much. CEO of Bell Brands USA, Yvonne Girard. Yvonne, thank you very much. Thank you very much. $350 million. President of Schneider Electric North America, Amber Paul. Amber, thank you very much. Investing $700 million for energy infrastructure, its largest investment in its 135-year history. Chairman and CEO of Johnson & Johnson. Oh, I know, I've heard of that company, huh? My hair looks so beautiful because of your product. Joaquin Duato, $55 billion manufacturing plant, research and development and technology. Thank you very much, $55 billion. That's a lot. But you got to catch up with Apple and some of the others. We got to get you to make one of the few companies that could do that, right? Chair and CEO of Eli Lilly, a great guy. Every time I talk to him about drug prices, he sweet talks me. He tells me about the middleman. The middleman keeps telling me about the middleman. By the time I leave the meetings, I was telling my people, I say, gee, he's giving us a great bargain. You know, but David, you have done some job. David Ricks, you have done some job. I'll see you later, too. $27 billion doubling its manufacturing investment in the U.S., and he's got a very hot topic right now going. This stuff is doing really well. It's a really hot company. Thank you very much, David. CEO of Novartis, Voss Narasimhan, and it's $23 billion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Voss. CEO of Genentech, Ashley Mugargi, $50 billion. Wow, that's a lot of money. Good, thank you, Ashley. That's a big one. CEO of AbbVie, Rob Michael, $10 billion. Thank you very much. Thank you, good company. President and CEO of Thermo Fisher, Mark Casper, $2 billion. Thank you, Mark, very much. Chairman and CEO of Merck, great company, Rob Davis, $9 billion. Thank you very much, Rob. Chairman and CEO of Abbott, Robert Ford, $500 million. Thank you, Robert. Chairman and CEO of a company called IBM. Arvind, where are you? Where are you? Thank you very much. That's fantastic. 150 billion. That's all? That's great. Thank you very much. You've done a great job. You've done a great job with that company, too, I'll tell you. Chairman and CEO of GE Aerospace, Larry Culp. Larry, thank you very much, Larry. And Larry's investing $1 billion in manufacturing across 16 states, and with us as we have the model of their F-110 engine, which I hear is like, I must tell you, I hear it's the hottest engine there is. You got a gold mine over there, Larry, which powers our nation's finest fighter jets and other jets. And your big engine is really something that I hear is beyond anything that has been produced yet. So good luck with it. And Larry, I think we're going to ask you to say a few words, actually. So come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here representing all of my colleagues at GE Aerospace. We are today 125 years old, but we are inventing the future of flight.
Firehouse Subs just partnered with Hot Ones to create 2 new hook and ladder subs.
One with pickles marinated in last dab reaper sauce to test yourself.
And a milder one with crispy garlic chips if tests aren't really your thing.
Find out how hot you'd like it for a limited time at Firehouse Subs.
Today, we power 3/4 of the world's commercial airlines and nearly 2/3 of the U.S. military combat jets and helicopters. So what you see here for the F-110 powers 70% of the newest Air Force F-15s and the F-16s. I know you were in Michigan just yesterday. This is the engine that will be under wing on the F-15EX Eagle II that the Michigan Air National Guard will soon be flying. We're excited about what's happening at our company. We're investing $1 billion this year, as the president said, across 16 states, not only in our manufacturing footprint, but with so many of the small and mid-sized businesses that constitute our supply chain. There's a lot happening. We're excited about it. Mr. President, thank you for what you're doing, not only to revitalize U.S. manufacturing, but helping ensure that the U.S. aerospace industry, one of our biggest net exporters, continues to lead the world in innovation. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job. And he has done a really great job. You took over a slightly troubled company, and now you've made it out as a business. So that's really an amazing job you've done in a short period of time. Also with us is Chairman and CEO of SoftBank, Masa. Where's Masa? Masa, come on up here, Masa. Masa has pledged $200 billion plus another $500 billion with Oracle and OpenAI for a total of $700 billion. Thank you, Masa. Come on up, please.
Well, first time of Trump administration, we made an announcement, commitment, $50 billion. We delivered $70 billion over 4 years last time. This time, I tried to commit $100 billion, and President Trump said, "Oh, Masa, go for more." So we did the $200 billion commitment, and then right after that, we SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX together, we announced $500 billion investment. This is the largest investment for infrastructure in the United States investment. And I think this is more than the scale. The importance is this is the largest infrastructure for the AI, which is the future of mankind, I believe. It's going to change every industry, every way of how our mankind's lifestyle of the future. I am committed. U.S. is the center of innovation. U.S. must continue the leadership of AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Russ. You're a friend of mine for a long time. These guys are mover. We got to say, you are really something. It's great. We appreciate it, Tim. Great spirit, great genius. Tim Cook from Apple is pledging, not only pledging, is committed to $500 billion. They're going to build plants all over the country, 7 or 8 different states. They've already started. And so I want to thank Tim. That's such a big investment for somebody that, you know, had them pretty much in one location, as you know. Now they're coming into the United States, I believe, because of the spirit and the tariffs and the incentives. So that's Apple for $500 billion. And one of the most brilliant men that you'll ever meet, the man that's done in a short period of time something that is incredible. He's the founder, CEO, and president of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang. He's producing up to $500 billion over the next 4 years to manufacture the most powerful AI chips entirely in the USA for the first time ever. Jensen, would you come up and say a few words? This is a smart cookie.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to be here. NVIDIA reinvented computing for the first time after 60 years. In fact, everyone at IBM knows quite well that the computer has largely been the same since the 60s. The IBM System 360 described really quite perfectly the computer that we use today. Central processing units, operating systems, the separation of hardware and software, I/O subsystems, multitasking. All of the words that we use to describe computers today were really invented in 1964, the year after my birth. Well, after all this time, we've reinvented computers again. This is what a processor looks like. It's on the right there. People say it's a GPU. That's one GPU unit. And it's 70 pounds, 60,000 parts, 10,000 watts. In order to manufacture it, requires probably a couple of hundred companies in the supply chain. It is so heavy that it requires robotics to do. It's so precise. And just to test a supercomputer requires a supercomputer. And we're going to build NVIDIA's technology, the next generation of that, all here in the United States. Without the president's leadership, his policies, his support, and very importantly, his strong encouragement. And I mean his strong encouragement. Frankly, manufacturing in the United States wouldn't have accelerated to this pace. Manufacturing isn't about low-cost labor anymore. Manufacturing is about technology. And most of the factories that build these systems today are the most advanced factories in the future. And we're going to use artificial intelligence and robotics and omniverse digital twin technology to make it possible for us to create the factories of the future. And we ought to build it right here. The real amazing thing is that this computer is the engine of a whole new industry. And this new industry is called artificial intelligence. And this new industry is a manufacturing industry in itself. That's a factory machine. Just as several hundred years ago, the dynamo was invented, water would come in and electricity would come out. Now electricity goes into this machine and incredible tokens come out, artificial intelligence. In order for this industry to thrive, we need to build these systems, of course, but we also need a progressive growth and industry-oriented energy policy, which this president has really put his weight behind. I really appreciate that. Without energy, we can't possibly have new growth industries. And we now have the backing of the administration, backing of President Trump to support the creation of a whole new industry. This industry is going to enable a whole bunch of other industries. What we now call the AI infrastructure is going to revolutionize every industry that we know. All of the many CEOs in the room today are great partners of ours for that reason. We're working on artificial intelligence for many industries, from healthcare to drug discovery to life sciences, financial services, education, so many different industries. And that's going to be possible because we have the fundamental infrastructure here in the United States. And so I want to thank you, sir, for everything that you've done and the strong encouragement and the great policies that make it possible for us. Thank you, sir.
Another brilliant man. You know, we have brilliant people here, and we like brilliant people, actually. But we have a lot of brilliant people in this group, and it's an honor to be with you. Past 100 days have been fighting to reclaim our jobs and bring our country back to a level that it's never seen before, and again renew the American dream, which is what we're doing. We have tremendous spirit. I don't know if you've heard, but it's become really quite a story. I see Pete's right over here, Secretary of Defense. We have the largest number of new enlistees or people enlisting in the military forces that we've ever had. And if you remember, 6 months ago, we couldn't get anybody to sign up. And that's a big turn in a very short period of time. And November 5th had a lot to do with that, and Secretary of Defense and a lot of the people that you see sitting here really had a lot to do with that. There's great spirit. I can say that also with the police forces throughout the country. We're having a hard time filling them up. It's a dangerous job, but now we have waiting lists at almost every place. And that's an amazing accomplishment when you think it's amazing. And when I first came here, you remember just 3 months ago, I came in and they started screaming. The fake news was screaming. They were going crazy about eggs. I don't know about eggs. What's with eggs? Tell me. They said their cost is up 50%, and you won't have them for Easter. They said, well, I have to get onto it, but this isn't my problem. This is Biden's problem. I've only been here for 4 days. They're screaming at me about eggs like it was my fault. I just got here. Didn't know anything about it. We got it taken care of, and eggs dropped 87% in the last short period of time, and everybody had eggs for Easter. In fact, we had a big Easter egg hunt on the lawns. We had 48,000 people actually came. And we had a lot of eggs. I don't know how many, but there were a lot. We didn't use plastic. They said, could you use plastic eggs? This is in early January. And I see our Secretary of Agriculture is here. Would you stand up? You did a great job. You got me out of a lot of trouble. Brooke Rollins. She got me out of a lot because they were trying to blame me for eggs and I didn't know anything about it yet. Explain it to me. But we had plenty of eggs, Brooke, right, for Easter. There was no dearth. And we have another man in the audience who's maybe the most important man in the room because he's the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, meaning he's the one that approves all your plants. And when Jensen and some of the others came in about numerous of the others, especially having to do with AI, they came in, I learned a lot. Number one, I learned we need double the electricity that we have right now for the whole country, and really more than that. Maybe 2 times would be even better. It was like unlimited thirst for electricity. And at first I said, you know, how's that possible? But that's, whatever it is, it's possible. That machine that you say you can barely lift is, I guess, it sucks up a lot of energy. But we need more than double what we have right now. So you take all of the energy, even the energy in this beautiful, incredible, it's just the greatest. I mean, no matter, I don't care where you come from with your $50 billion plant, the White House is the White House, right? You gotta see it, the Oval Office. If you want to take a trip down to the Oval Office, any of you come down with me, I'll show you a beautiful office. It'll blow your beautiful offices away. They'll stop and they'll say, for a lot of other reasons, but it's a beautiful place, and if you want to, I'm serious, you can do that. But I told Jensen, I told Tim, I told Everybody that's building these very big, incredible plants, really plants of the future, they were talking about hooking into the grid. I said, well, you know, the grid is old and it is subject to mishap. Things can happen, including storms and much worse than storms. And if you want, I'll let you build your own utility plant, your own electric plant along with your building. You can build it inside of the plant or you can build it outside of the plant. And I went to Lee Zeldin right here and I said, Lee, we got to get fast approvals for these people. You know, they're going to do the best job. They're going to have the best engineers, the best everything. We'd like to have them build their electric for them. They don't have to go outside. You become a utility. You become a great producer of electric. And if you have any extra, you put it back into the grid if you want, or you sell it back in. But you're going to be able to build, so this way we don't have to worry about do we have enough. Because if you look at California, they have brownouts, blackouts, and everything else. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Governor doesn't have a clue. But the last thing you want to do is be hooking up to the California grid so that we can go in and you'll say, gee, we have to close down the factory for a couple of days. We have a little brownout going on. So you're going to be able to build your own plant and produce as much electric as your beautiful heart's desire. And that'll be something that nobody's done before. And we're going to ask Lee to get those approved very quickly. And he'll get it approved before you can even imagine. He's great. He's great. He knows the difference. You know, you can take years to get those approved. I would say previous to us, it would be years and years. Or it would take weeks to get them approved. And they'll be just as good. But they don't play games, and they're going to get it done, and they'll get it done very quickly. So that's going to be a big help because you can have unlimited energy, unlimited electricity. And I think it's going to really, we want to stay number one. We're number one right now by a lot. I will say this, if I didn't get elected, I would say get out of the AI business fast. Get out of all business fast, probably. Maybe get out of the country fast because this country was heading in the wrong direction, but now it's heading in the right direction. I think it's the most consequential 100 days in the history of our country in certain ways. We had an editorial from a group that normally wouldn't give good editorials to people like me. And they said he's the most consequential president because of what he's doing with all of these policies that you're reading about, long beyond the electricity and the plants, having to do with many other things like secure borders, and all of the many, many things I could go down and name them. We're gonna be getting tremendous amounts of drug and pharmaceutical companies that will be pouring into the country. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to, and we're gonna give them a lot of time to do it. But after that, it's gonna be a tariff wall put up, and they won't be happy about it. But they'll be happy if they start building right now. Right now, it's going to be built, and after a certain period of time, it's going to get tougher, and then it's going to be real hard to do business in this country. So for the pharmaceutical companies, chip companies, a lot of different companies, we're all set to really grow. Groceries are down. The grocery prices are down. Gasoline prices are down. We had some gasoline selling for $1.98 a gallon just recently in 3 different states over the last 2 days. It was at $4, and it was higher than that in some places. It was over $5. We have it way down. Energy prices are down all over the country. Mortgage rates are actually down slightly, even though I have a guy in the Fed that I'm not a huge fan of, but that's all right. These are minor details. Don't tell him I said that, please. As the cameras rock and roll back there. No, he should reduce interest rates. I think I understand interest a lot better than him because I've had to really use interest rates. But we should have interest rates go down. It would be positive, but it's not going to matter that much because ultimately what we're creating has much more to do with other things than it does just pure interest rates. But it would be nice for people wanting to buy homes and things. The prescription drug prices just saw the largest monthly decline ever recorded. So David, I'm having a little bit of an impact, at least on you, as I browbeat this guy. He's got the he looks like he's 25 years old. He has this massive company, Eli Lilly, and it has no impact on them whatsoever, but I just see this number just came out. It's the largest monthly decline ever recorded. Yeah, it's probably about 2%. You know, they did that to make me feel a little bit better, but I appreciate it. We have achieved the lowest number of illegal border crossings in U.S. history, and we're at a level that nobody thought we could get to in 2 years, let alone a couple of months. And I think Christy Noma's here someplace. Where is Christy? She's here. Stand up, Christy. And Tom Holman. And I see Linda. Stand up, Linda. You're doing some good education. We're bringing education back to the States where it belongs. And she's been incredible. She's very upset with Harvard. They have $53 billion in a fund, and yet they want more grants. And it looks like we're not going to be giving them any more grants, right, Linda? And, you know, a grant is at our discretion, and they're really not behaving well, so it's too bad. But our country is roaring like never before. Nobody's ever really seen anything like this. And again, the big thing is whether it's 8 trillion or even more than that, by the end of the year, it could be a number that would be, well, I think it's already, there's never been anything like it, but this is in a period of a couple of months. I think by the end of the year, the numbers will be just staggering. It's really going to be something very special. I'm very honored to be with you. And I'd ask if anybody has any questions, please. This is your time. This is your time. You'll be live on television, all the fake news back there. Now that'll keep them down, right? That's the way to keep them down, unless they're bad people, in which case, unless they want to make some news. Would anybody have any questions? Anybody? Business leaders? You want to know anything about depreciation? No? I love it. We've done such a good job. We don't have to take. Howard, would you like to say a couple of words, please?
The president talks about $8 trillion coming into America. And there's only one reason it's coming in. It's because he's finally set an industrial policy for the United States of America. We are the greatest economy in the world. We finally have a president who understands that we need to reindustrialize. We need to be made in America, made in the USA. And you feel it. You feel it with your leaders. You feel it across all your peers. Everyone feels it. It's coming back to America, and we are going to be rocking. So thank you so much.
So thank you very much, everybody. And for the business leaders, if any of you would like to come down to the Oval and say hello, if you've never seen it, if you have seen it, just go home and enjoy your lives, count your money. But if you'd like to come down, I'm heading down there now. And again, thank you very much, everybody. Pam, you're doing a fantastic job. You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
And I tell people she's 21 years old, they're just taken back, without a farmer's dog. I truly don't believe she'd be here today. She just started slowing down, didn't want to get up anymore.
She ate sometimes she didn't.
I thought she always had a low appetite, but I bounced from food to food.
We switched to the farmer's dog and immediately they just wolfed it down.
I've never seen so much energy when it comes to feeding time, because she just loses her mind.
She loved it, and from there, it was just off and running.
They definitely got another little pep in their step. She's still a boss at 18 and a half years old.
Her energy level was back up as if she was 10 years old again. You don't want to just have a dog hanging on. You want to have a dog who's enjoying every day. Hey, Realtor.com pros, Reba here.
In the meantime, I do want to head out over to the White House. That is where we are hearing from President Donald Trump. He is signing some executive orders right now, so let's pop up the audio here and listen in.
Amazing people. Okay, why don't we start just by, we're going to be signing some executive orders. And if you want to discuss it for a second, Will, and then we'll have a couple of people speak. And it's my honor to help you. What they did to you is ridiculous.
I would agree.
How long has this been going on?
Well, there's a lot of this, but this one's been going on since 2008, yeah, and it just gets bigger and bigger.
And they basically took away your fishing rights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they cashed my tax check.
Was that Obama and Biden?
2014 was when they expanded to the 500,000 square miles. Obama signed in 2014.
It's so sad. It's so
Tiny one and Obama.
It's too bad they won't pick it up properly. But it's so sad. Go ahead, Will.
So, as Peter said, sir, starting in 2009, continuing in 2014, a very large part of the American exclusive economic zone in the Pacific, amounting in total to 500,000 square miles of the American economic zone has been, exclusive economic zone has been held off limits to commercial fishing. We have a proclamation for your signature today, sir, that would reopen this area for commercial fishing by American flagged vessels only. This is a huge deal to the island populations in the Pacific, and we hope that this will lead to a new dawn for the American fishing industry in the Pacific Islands.
Could you, Captain, say a few words about how ridiculous this has been to get a live like this?
Well,
American Samoa.
we operate of American Samoa. We supply to Starkist, American company, does military packs. And it's our right. The U.S. has the biggest EEZ in the Pacific, and yet we can't fish there. And it seems unfair, and I'm glad that we're opening it up so that we can feed our people.
And tell them how large an area we're talking about.
The Pacific is big, but this is a huge area. Again, the U.S. has the biggest EEZ in the Pacific.
It's the area
and it's
between Californias.
It's an area the size of 3 Californias. They can't fish there. And so what do you do? How do you fish? They took away your livelihood.
Well, we fish in the high seas, and then we have to pay to fish in other
Now, the high seas would mean more danger, right? Is there more danger in the high seas?
Not really. It's just
far away.
It's a bigger area, and
So how far do you have to travel to get to fish?
The boat carries a lot of fish, so it goes until it's full, basically. But it's good to have plenty of fishing grounds.
To get out to where you have to go for 7 days?
It can be as close as 4 days, but it's a little bit of a jaunt, yeah. And
That's a little bit, I'd say. So you'll travel from 4 to 7 days.
Just to get to the fishing ground.
Just to get to the area that you're allowed to fish. And is that as fertile an area as the area that you're not allowed to fish in? Or?
Well, the Western Pacific in a whole is 80% of the world's tuna comes from the Western Pacific. So U.S. has a huge EEZ there. There's also the island countries, but it's a big area.
So they took away very fertile grounds.
Very fertile, yeah.
This is so crazy. What would you like to say? Go ahead. Such an honor to do this for these people. This is just crazy. Just tell me, when did this start? When was it?
It started back in 2008. But thank you, Mr. President, for this great announcement, and thank you so much for your awesome leadership in giving back to American Samoa what had been taken away from us without even consulting with our leaders and people at that time.
And they just one day just took away 3 Californias.
Yes. And so this is such a wonderful gift to American Samoa. And of course, it's also Holy Week beginning today. And so thank you for returning to our indigenous people this wonderful gift of our traditional fishing grounds.
It's such an honor to do this. Normally us have things and it's nice and everything's good. You get more water in the shower head and things like that. This is such an honor. What they've done to you people is incredible. It's so terrible. When you have to travel 4 days in a boat to fish, and it's usually 7 days, I was told before, but 4 days to 7 days in order to fish, and you were there a long time before we were, right?
Yes. Yes, for centuries.
Like I would say, thousands of years first.
Mr. President, you have another fishery in the Pacific Ocean. This is the Persei fishery that fishes for canned tuna, and then the fishery in Hawaii fishes for fresh tuna. And so there are 150 vessels, and you're opening up Johnston Island, which is very close to Hawaii, makes it a lot easier for them to fish.
Even
Because of the,
Hawaii,
yeah.
even Hawaii.
Well, yes, of course. So you're helping the entire fleet, and most of our fish are sold on the mainland. We also fish for swordfish, and when we have too many regulations for our swordfish fishery, you get swordfish from Peru, Brazil, and all those other places that don't have the same management measures that we have in the United States. So we are very grateful in Hawaii for this, the fishermen, and it's fantastic.
So what's the difference? You say canned tuna.
Right, you have two different U.S. fisheries there.
Yeah, but the same tuna.
Different, no, that's a skipjack, albacore, and yellowfin, and then.
So albacore is canned tuna, right?
Right.
I know that from.
You see the can. So our fishery fishes for the sashimi quality fish, so it's all fresh. It's an ice fishery, and it's been around since it started in the early 1900s. And
Well, it's been around for millions of years.
right, exactly.
Long before us.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So, that's where you're getting your sashimi and your swordfish from. Most of the swordfish that you eat on the mainland comes from our fishery.
They shut down also areas off Maine, the Maine
Yes.
lobster.
Oh, yes,
And I
yes.
think we're gonna have to open that one up really quickly too. But we did it, and then, after the election, which was totally rigged, they went out and they put it back again. It was like 500 square miles or some ridiculous thing like that. And Canada fishes there, but we're not allowed to. Can you imagine? They restricted it, but Canada fishes there. Please.
Mr. President, this is such a great honor. Today in American Samoa, we're celebrating the 125th Flag Day. It's the first day celebrating when the U.S. flag was first raised there. This very moment, they're celebrating that. So this is a monumental occasion for the people of American Samoa, and we are truly
So this is the big thing.
This is because we're a tuna-dependent economy. 99.5% of our exports is tuna.
99.5%? Well, what about the other half?
And then about 80% of our private employment is related to the tuna industry. So yes, this is a big thing for the Tariffs.
Right, what's this gonna do in terms, it's so interesting to me, it's so horrible and so stupid. It's so stupid. We're talking about a massive ocean, and they're forced to travel 4 to 7 days to go and fish in an area that's not as good and is probably a little more dangerous, the whole thing. So, how is this gonna affect your business? It's gonna be many more, you're gonna be able to do much more business over there, right?
Yes, we would think that this will definitely result in more fish deliveries, and more fish deliveries is more economic gains for the territory.
Tell us what happens when you say China and other people steal your fish. When, in other words, you're forced to go to areas that are very dangerous.
Well, because of the monuments and overlays of sanctuaries, our fishermen mostly fish on the high seas. And if you look at Global Watch, you will see China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, all fishing on our very edge of the 200-mile zone. So our fishing, we're in competition with them. And also, their dumping of their fish on U.S. markets lowers the price for our fishermen. And that's another difficult thing that we hope you'll take care of soon.
And what about the stealing of your fish?
Well, you're competing with tuna in a very competitive market, right? So they're camped right outside, like you said, they're camped right outside our EEZ.
And what happens?
And they're taking our fish because it's migratory. Tuna is migratory.
Because we can't fish in our zone, the fish goes to whoever.
And they come in and they're kind of most of it around.
They take the fish.
That's a common, well-documented problem.
Does anyone, it's so interesting. Even you have to find this one interesting. So by doing this, we're gonna give you back your lives. And you've been doing this for thousands of years in this area. And along comes Biden and Obama, and they say you can't do it anymore, right?
This is, fish baby fish.
Yeah. So, what's the level of and this is a risky question, but what's the level of popularity of Trump and Samoa versus the Democrats?
77%.
For Trump?
Poll shows for Trump. Yes, that's right. 77%.
Yes.
Well, it's an honor I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because it's just an honor. Here's one of the boats in there. Look how beautiful that is down. They use it for a beautiful cruise. It takes 7 days before they can do the first fish. Can you believe it? So now you'll be able to do it like almost immediately, right?
We get much closer, absolutely. So if the fish is there, we can make more trips and employ more people.
Do you know through sonar, radar, everything, do you know where the fish are? I mean, can you see that?
You get educated guesses, so you get all kinds of different reports, plankton and all kinds of stuff, and they can.
It's a beautiful life. You wouldn't choose any other life, right?
It's a very unique life. I love what I do. I really do.
I mean, if you could have a life like some beautiful leisurely life in Washington, D.C., and then you love it when you go to work, but other than that, you love politics. If you could live in the White House, you'd take it exactly.
Might take it under consideration.
Let's do this, right? It's an honor. You've seen that signature. I don't use AutoPen. You know, like Biden. Biden uses AutoPen. I think
We have one more also relating to fisheries, sir. This is an executive order on seafood competitiveness. Currently, we have two basic problems here. One is that the American seafood industry is dramatically overregulated. Our fisheries are dramatically overregulated. The other is that we have unfair trade practices from our foreign trading partners relating to the seafood industry. So this executive order is going to attempt to address both of those. The Department of Commerce, other federal departments and agencies are going to work with the fisheries to establish common sense regulatory reforms.
How long will that take?
I think we're expecting to move as quickly as we can. Yes, sir.
You know what you know exactly what we're talking about already, right? It's crazy. The regulation.
Secretary, what if you do a fast track?
Howard, please.
Sure. So you just heard us, the economic zone around Hawaii and Samoa is huge, and it's exclusively ours. So why wouldn't we have our fishermen fish there? I mean, imagine saying our own fishermen, every country in the world, they all fish the 200 miles off their coast, and we were stopping our own fishermen from going off the coast. It's totally the opposite of common sense. That's why President Trump has changed it. Now let's talk about regulation. If you're not even going to let them fish, imagine the regulations that have been written to stop our fishermen from just surviving and thriving. We have the greatest coasts in the world with the greatest fishermen in the world, and we need to let them do their great jobs, raise and capture fish, bring them to our tables, have America have the greatest fish in the world, which we have, and then let them export all these other countries, right? They stop us from exporting. That's going to be over with your leadership and your trading policies. We're going to open all of these markets, and we're going to let our fishermen thrive and prosper, and we are going to have lower cost fish, more of it, and the freshest fish in the world. And this is just common sense, the United States of America.
So can I ask, it's so interesting. So you take these massive areas of water, and other countries are allowed to fish in them, right?
No, they sneak in, poach.
So they're not allowed, but they do it because they don't care.
They fish in their own zones, sir. So we're systematically disadvantaging our fishermen by not allowing them to fish in parts of our exclusive economic zone, while other countries have their own exclusive economic zones, and they're fishing the heck out of those.
So they're totally benefiting.
Now that you're allowing the U.S. fishing fleet to fish, they also serve as observers. And when they see poachers, they report them to the authorities. And so they're a big help to the U.S. Coast Guard. And so it's great for our U.S. food security.
We should have a trade surplus of fish, and we have a big trade deficit.
It's crazy.
Because of all this. It's just crazy. Nothing.
Okay.
Familiar community.
This is an easy one.
Very easy.
Time out. This is an easy one. This is crazy, huh?
About 80% of the seafood in the U.S. is imported.
Imagine imagine that? We import seafood, and we have the greatest coast
So
of
what-
fishing in the world.
Okay, so in Maine, they do something similar. I think it's like 500 miles or something, some crazy thing. And Canada goes and they fish there, other people fish there, Europe fishes there. The Maine lobster. You can't get Maine lobsters because Maine's forced to go for days out to some other area that's not as good. We have to free that up too.
We'll have that on the list next week.
The Maine lobster, right? It's incredible.
You did it last
Think of
time, and they undid it.
Canada fishes there,
500.
and we're not allowed to, yeah. I did it last time I met, and they undid it, that's why we have to stay president for a long time. Thank you, everybody. What an honor. It's a great honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job. Beautiful. Looks like a real athlete right there. Yeah, look how.
I get it.
Mr. President, a short time ago, the Supreme Court agreed to hear oral arguments in the case about ending birthright citizenship. How confident are you that the court will rule in your favor and allow that order to end birthright citizenship to go forward?
Well, you're just telling me that for the first time. I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood. That case, birthright citizenship, is about slavery. If you look at the details of it, the signings of it, everything else, that case is all about slavery. And if you view it from that standpoint, people understand it. But for some reason, lawyers don't talk about it, the news doesn't talk about it. That's not about tourists coming in and touching a piece of sand and all of a sudden they're a citizenship. They're a citizen. That is all about slavery. And even look at the dates on which it was signed. It was right at that era, right after the Civil War. And if you look at it that way, the case is an easy case to win. And I hope the lawyers talk about birthright, citizenship, and slavery, because that's what it was all about. And it was a very positive, it was meant to be positive. And they use it now instead, not for slavery, they use it for people that come into our country and they walk in and all of a sudden they become citizens and they pay a lot of money to different cartels and others. It's all about slavery, and if you look at it that way, we should win that case. Okay.
Mr. President, following up, you have a great relationship with the president of El Salvador. Will you ask him to release Abrego Garcia so that you can facilitate his return here to the United States? And do you believe he deserves due process here?
Well, I must tell you, I have to refer again to the lawyers. I'll have to do what they ask me to do. I had heard that there were a lot of things about a certain gentleman, perhaps it was that gentleman, that would make that case be a case that's easily winnable on appeal. So we'll just have to see. I'm going to have to respond to the lawyers.
President, there are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Going in amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well, I'm
country?
going to have to, look, I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later. I'll
What
see
do
what
you
happens.
say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
Mr. President, question about the United Kingdom. There were reports that you're going to go and stay with the King in September. Can you
Yes.
confirm that? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I was invited by the King and by the country, great country, they're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest. And that's what it is. It's a fest, and it's beautiful. And it's the first time it's ever happened to one person. And the reason is that we have 2 separate terms. And it's an honor to be, a friend of Charles. I have great respect for King Charles and the family, William. We have just really just a great respect for the family. And it's a very great honor that, and I think they're setting a date for September.
Is it going to be a smaller visit initially and then a bigger state visit the following after? Is that the plan?
Yeah, they say that it's gonna be, I don't know how it can be bigger than the last one. The last one was, as you know, was incredible. But they say it's gonna be even more important, so it's a great honor to be so chosen.
President Trump, yesterday you spoke with Japan. Is the Nippon steel deal part of the tariff negotiations? Did you discuss that with them?
It could be, but I doubt it. I mean, I think we're gonna view it separately. We want U.S. steel to remain in the hands of the United States and people from the United States. And great respect for Japan, but we don't want a foreign country buying U.S. steel. U.S. Steel was one of our great companies in the world. You go back 80 years, and it was the biggest, strongest, most powerful company in the world. And we're going to make it very strong and powerful again without Nippon. But if Nippon wants to come in, and I hear they're working on it very hard, I have great respect for Nippon Steel. I know a lot about it. But they can invest and they can do lots of things, partnerships, but we want to have U.S. Steel remain in this country.
So is that a stipulation you would put on tariff negotiations?
I guess we could talk about it with regard to tariffs, Howard. I mean, it's something that could be a part of it, but tariff negotiations are actually simple. I mean, we're going to set a number and people are going to pay that, or they're going to decide to go elsewhere if there is such a place. There really is no elsewhere, I think.
In the first term, your attorney general apologized to Tea Party for being targeted by the IRS under the Obama administration. Why is it okay for the IRS to now be looking, changing the tax status of Harvard because of policy disagreements you have?
So, you know, I had dinner last night with a lot of pastors and ministers and people of faith, and there were like 32 of them, and it was beautiful in the Blue Room, and they said, sir, I was targeted by the IRS, and the FBI came in, sir, and I've been going through hell for years. And somebody overheard that statement, and they said, oh, that happened to me too. Another one overheard, oh, that happened to me too. It was the Biden people, and they had 7 or 8 of them going to be reporting it very soon. I said, this has to be reported. These are ministers, pastors, evangelicals. They were targeted by the Biden administration, which was a disgraceful administration. Well, I was targeted more than anybody in history. I think you probably know that. I hope you admit it, but you might not. But I was targeted more than anybody in history. But it was interesting because one pastor told me, and another one heard it, oh, me too, me too, me too, me too. All of a sudden they're all, and one of them spent all of his money, everything he had on lawyers for 3 years, he said. It took place almost immediately after the election. After the election, when Biden came in, unfortunately for the country, sadly for the country. So when you asked me that question, I immediately say, let's switch it around and tell you what happened last night. And not only that, we're also finding that many people just having to do with Trump support have gone through hell. And they've used the IRS for purposes of something that's very illegal for them to have to do. It's a very illegal, it's a very, very illegal thing to do what they did. And I think because I think Harvard's a disgrace. I think what they did was a disgrace. They're obviously anti-Semitic, and all of a sudden they're starting to behave. But when you see what they were saying, what they were doing, when you see the way they took care of events, when you watch that woman, that horrendous president that ruined the image of Harvard, maybe permanently, in Congress, in the halls of Congress, when you take a look at what happened there, it was horrific. And, you know, I've looked at a lot having to do with it. I'm not involved in it being handled by lawyers. I read about it just like you did. But tax exempt status, I mean, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. And it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard. By a lot more than Harvard. So we'll see how that all works out. I don't think they've made a final ruling. I don't believe they've made a final ruling, but it's something that these schools really have to be very, very careful with. Very anti-Semitic when you take a look, whether it's Columbia, Harvard, Princeton, I don't know what's going on, but when you see how badly they've acted, and in other ways also, so we'll be looking at it very strongly.
Subject on the tax exempt status subject. What are the other groups I'd like to see that status removed from? Can we expect to see?
Well, we'll be making some statements, but it's a big deal, and they're so rich and so strong, and then they go so bad. They've earned so much by being a member of this country, you know, a member of this group, this beautiful group of people in this country, and then they go and they abuse their power like that. I think it's, you know, I think it's very sad.
Are we talking about immigrant rights groups, environmental?
Could be. Could be. I mean, look, environmental. I have a group named Crew. You ever hear of it? I think it's CREW. And they have a guy that heads Crew. It's supposed to be a charitable organization. The only charity they had is going after Donald Trump. So we're looking at that. We're looking at a lot of things. But if you take a look at Crew, what they've done, and I think it was a very big abuse, but we're going to be finding out pretty soon.
Can you explain the disconnect between your conversations with President Xi, when those potentially could happen, and why they haven't happened yet?
Well, you don't know whether or not they've happened.
That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I've never said whether or not they've happened, but I have a very good relationship with President Xi. I think it's going to continue, and I would say they have reached out a number of times. And well, the same. I view it very similar. It would be top levels of China. And if you knew him, you would know that if they reached out, he knew exactly. He knew everything about it. He runs it very tight, very strong, very smart. And yeah, we're talking to China. Excuse me?
They've reached out since the 145% tariffs.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you believe
A lot. A lot. We're talking.
Do you want to talk directly to President Xi?
I don't want to say that. It's just not appropriate.
But you're speaking up. Has he told you directly? President Xi reached out?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obviously, but we will talk about this. It's not that important because honestly, have a deal. We're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway because we've set a certain target and that's going to be it. You have anything to say about that, Howard?
I think our tariff policy around the world has every country in the world coming in and talking to us. It is incredible. We had country after country in yesterday. We are confident that we will work out something with China, and the president knows what he wants to do, and I think he knows it better than anybody else in the world, and we are confident that this is going to work out well, both for the United States of America. I'm sure it'll work it out with China. The amount of other countries who are working with us is incredible, and I think it's really going to work for the American farmers, for our ranchers, for our fishermen, for our businesses. The scale of companies coming to America just every day, like even this morning we were talking about Whirlpool, and then we were talking about car companies opening. The scale of factories coming to America is mind-boggling, driven by Donald Trump's tariff policy, which has got the world coming and finally respecting the United States of America.
President Trump, you said
And by the way, there's never been anything like it. We have at least $7 trillion of new businesses coming in. If you go back and look at others, I mean, in years they wouldn't do anything like that. So, and this is in a matter of weeks, so it's been pretty amazing.
You said we're talking, so China and the U.S. are talking
Yeah.
on tariffs.
Oh, sure.
Do you believe then that they won't go higher than 125%? We've heard Chinese officials say that. I mean, like, what happens if they do go higher? Do we retaliate more?
Well, at a certain point, I don't want them to go higher because at a certain point you make it where people don't buy. So I may not want to go higher, or I may not want to even go up to that level. I may want to go to less because you want people to buy. And at a certain point, people aren't going to buy. And it's actually up to 145% because you have the 20.
You previously said that you would consider reducing tariffs on China to get a TikTok deal done. Is that still on the table as of now?
Well, we have a deal for TikTok, but it'll be subject to China, so we'll just delay the deal till this thing works out one way or the other. And I think it's a good deal for China, and the TikTok deal is very good. TikTok is good for China, and I think they'd like to see us do a deal, especially the deal that we pretty much done with some of the best companies in the world.
If they agree to sign a deal, would you take that into consideration?
I think it would be something we discuss because it's a, it's a natural. If we're making a deal, I guess we'll spend 5 minutes and talk about TikTok. It wouldn't take very long.
Can you give us a sense of how far along these negotiations are with China? Are they in the early stages, or are you inching closer now to actually making a deal on tariffs?
I think that we will make a deal with China. I think we've had some very good talks, but we will have some very good talks remaining. And you know, I view it, and some people say, oh, rush. I think we have a lot of time. I think we have plenty of time. But we have very, very good. We saw Japan was here yesterday. We had Italy today. We had a great conversation with the Prime Minister. We've had very good talks yesterday with Mexico. Talking with everybody. You know, the problem is it's only so many hours in the day. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target. We'll live with that, and it'll be fine. I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand, we're a big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet. We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store. China wants it, Japan wants it, Mexico, Canada, they live off it, those two. And without us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a piece. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff. We'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high. You know, more likely the market, but the market may find it too high, or the country may find it too high. Then they'll come back and say, well, we think this is too high, and we'll negotiate, or they're going to say something else. They're going to say, well, let's see what happens. But they always have a right not to do it. So they can say, well, we don't want it, so we're not going to shop there. We're not going to shop in the store of America. We have something that nobody else has, and that's the American consumer. And I had the most successful, I had the most successful 4-year period in the history of this country, and I think we're going to blow it away this time. But there is a little bit of a transition, and we're going to have that little transition, and it's not much of a transition. You know, if you look right now, we're getting 25% on cars, right? We're getting 25% on steel. We're getting 25% on aluminum. We're going to have some other things that we're going to be adding in the not too distant future because we want them to be made here. The medicines, the drugs, pharmaceuticals are going to be done, and computer chips, et cetera, and because of that, we have the biggest computer companies in the world coming in from Taiwan and other places, and they're building in Arizona and lots of other places. And we're number 1 in AI by far. We're leading China by a lot, by tremendous amounts. We're going to supply electricity at levels never supplied before. They're going to build their own electric. We're going to let them become a utility, essentially. And it's going to be amazing for the country. They're going to build their own electric plants. We have to double up our electricity to remain number 1 in AI. We're going to have to double up our electricity take our whole country. We're going to have to double up our electricity. Think of that. And probably even triple it up. And we're going to let them build their own electric plants with their plant that they're building for the AI or whatever they're doing. Never been done before. We're going to get them quick approvals. It's going to be very clean, going to be very nice. And we're going to get them very fast approvals. And people are investing in this country like they've never invested before. Thank you very much, everybody.
With daily ED medication by Hims, you can be ready to go anytime with no planning required. Choose from a range of once-a-day options, from chews to pills, some that include other health aids. Feel more confident and more in control with doctor-trusted treatments that are compounded in the USA and delivered in a discreet package. With daily solutions, you can enjoy spontaneous months. Feel ready to go anytime with Daily ED Mix. Start today at hims.com.
Florida drivers, do not pay your insurance bill until you hear this.
After 8 years in the car insurance industry, it's time I'll tell you all their dirty little secrets. The truth is, they are legally robbing you every time you pay for your car insurance. Here's the deal. A big chunk of your monthly payment isn't even for your coverage. It's for the agent's commission. how much you can save. Stop letting them rob you. It's time to keep your money where it belongs, in your pocket. So click the link below and stop getting ripped off. So guys, check if you're eligible for saving on car insurance by scanning this QR code or visiting savenow123.com on your mobile device. Simply scan the code with your phone, provide some basic information, and see the best offers available to you. Scan now and find out if you qualify for savings today.
Okay, we have a beautiful announcement to make. It's very exciting. Money is pouring in, and we want to keep it that way. And I think that's what's going to happen. We have tremendous interest in our country, more than ever before. There's never been anything like it. We're almost at a $4 trillion level, and that's something that's never happened. And I think hopefully it's because of the election on November 5th, but it's also because of tariffs, I suspect, Governor. But I'm thrilled to welcome Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, a friend of mine for a long time, and to have you at the White House. And we thought this was going to happen, and I said, if you get it signed up, we'll do it at the White House, and we got it all done. I'm proud of you. Not surprised. Executive Chairman of Hyundai Motor Group, Jung E. Sun. Thank you very much. What a great honor. Vice Chairman Jay Chang. Okay, thank you. Hyundai Steel President Sue Gang Hyun. Thank you very much. President, that's big stuff. And former Ambassador Sung Kim. Thank you very much. Great honor to have all of you. Also, and these names are much less difficult for me, but I think we got them right. But this one we will definitely get right. Mike Johnson, our great speaker. He's been doing a real job. Right, Mike? It's an easy job, isn't it? House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Steve? I'm doing all right, Steve, I tell you. He went through a lot. He's stronger than ever. Louisiana Speaker Philip Duvalier. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Senate President Cameron Henry. State Representative Ken Brass. State Senator Eddie Lambert. And Ascension Parish President Clint Point Ment. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Great to have you with us. Today we're delighted to report that Hyundai is announcing a major $5.8 billion investment in American manufacturing. In particular, Hyundai will be building a brand new steel plant in Louisiana, which will produce more than 2.7 million metric tons of steel a year, creating more than 1,400 jobs for American steelworkers, and then there'll be major expansion after that. This will be Hyundai's first ever steel mill in the United States, one of the largest companies in the world, by the way, supplying steel for its auto parts and auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, which will soon produce more than 1 million American-made cars every single year. Cars are coming into this country at levels never seen before. Get ready. This investment is a clear demonstration that tariffs very strongly work, and I hope other things also, but the tariffs are bringing them in at levels that have not been witnessed. Hyundai will be producing steel in America and making its cars in America, and as a result, they'll not have to pay any tariffs. You know, there are no tariffs if you make your product in America, so it's something that's why so many people are coming. As you know, we have from Taiwan, the biggest chip manufacturer in the world, is coming in with $200 billion, and we have a lot of people coming and plants coming and companies coming that never would have been here, never would have even thought about it. The new steel plant in Louisiana is part of an even larger $21 billion investment Hyundai will be making in the United States over the next couple of years. The company will also be massively increasing its auto manufacturing in Georgia and investing billions of dollars in advanced American technology companies. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the executive chairman to say a few words, and it's a great honor to have Hyundai, a truly great company. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. to speak here today, and thank you for the invitation. And congratulations on the remarkable start to your new term. All right. So Hyundai Motor entered the U.S. 1986. Since then, we have invested over $20 billion and now support more than 570,000 American jobs across all 50 states. Today, I'm pleased to announce an additional $21 billion in a new investment over the next 4 years, our largest U.S. invest ever. A key part of this commitment is our $6 billion investment to strengthen the U.S. supply chain from steel and parts to automobiles. We are especially excited about Hyundai Steel's multi-billion investment in a new facility in Louisiana, which will create 1,300 American jobs and serve as the foundation for a more self-reliant and secure automotive supply chain in the U.S. To mark this milestone, we are honored to visit President Trump alongside Governor Landry and Speaker Johnson and Leader Scalise, deepening our partnership with the United States and reinforcing our shared vision for American industrial leadership. And this week, we are also proud to open our new $8 billion auto plant in Georgia. With this, our U.S. vehicle production will exceed 1 million units per year, as President mentioned. Our decision to invest in Savannah, Georgia, creating more than 8,500 American jobs, was initiated during my meeting with President Trump in Seoul in 2019. Yeah, and after that, 2020 in Dallas, I mentioned about the new plant. So American Jobs was initiated during at the time. Now, as we proudly mark the completion of this transformative project, coincides with the beginning of President Trump's second term, making this moment even more special. Yeah. Furthermore, HMG will purchase $3 billion worth of U.S. LNG to support America's energy industry and enhance our energy security. All of these efforts will accelerate the localization of our supply chain in the U.S., expand our operations, and grow our American workforce. With your leadership, Mr. President, Hyundai Motor Group is proud to be a stronger partner in America's industrial future. I'd like to personally invite you to visit one of our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility and see firsthand our commitment to the United States and our American workers. So thank you to our American partners and employees and communities. We are really proud to stand with you and proud to be build the future together. Thank you.
I thought maybe we have a great speaker and we have two very good friends, Mike and Steve, and you come from a certain state that we're talking about right now that we love, and I've done very well there. I've always won by a lot. I love that state, so I was happy to hear about it. That's why I said, come on over. But Mike, would you and Steve like to say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're excited. It was mentioned earlier what a great start we've had to your second term, and we're just getting started. Everyone should know that. There'll be more of this because it's the policies that are bringing about the great growth, and it's about leadership. And we have a strong new leader back in the White House. It makes a big difference because everybody around the world is seeing that, and everyone around the country is applauding it. We were on district work period last week, and Steve Scalise and I and our colleagues were traveling around the country doing campaign events, raising money, doing all the things that are necessary to ensure that we keep the House majority for the Republican Party. And I'll just tell you, I was in multiple states over the last week, and everywhere I went, Mr. President, people are excited. There's this great sense of relief, almost euphoria out there, because they know that America's back. This is the America First agenda. We're so grateful for these great friends with Hyundai to invest in Louisiana. We have extraordinary leadership on the state level, and leadership makes a big difference. We're so grateful to be a part of this. We tell you all, this is a great investment in Louisiana and in America. More to come. Thank you so much. Steve?
Well, thank you again, Mr. President, for opening up the White House to this great group. Governor Landry has brought the same kind of energy to the governor's mansion in Louisiana that President Trump has brought to the nation in the White House. Some people marvel at President Trump's stamina. Over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, we spoke by phone on some different legislative initiatives that we're working on with Speaker Johnson to continue moving the agenda forward. Those very things that President Trump ran on, he's delivered for the American people. And this announcement by Hyundai is one more example of how that agenda that President Trump ran on to make America first again is working for the American people. When you talk about 1,300 plus really good jobs in Louisiana, those are all American workers. That's billions of investment coming in from Hyundai into the United States that would not have been here without President Trump's leadership. And I think people know that, they see it. It's been a long time coming, but we applaud the work that Hyundai is doing with Governor Landry to come to our state. But for President Trump, we're seeing this all across the nation, and we're just getting started. A lot more to come, Mr. President. Thank you.
Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
The size of the investment, partly because of tariffs. On April 2nd, the reciprocal tariffs will go into effect. Is it truly reciprocal? Are there some countries that might get a break, some sectors that might get a break?
Well, I may give a lot of countries breaks, but it's reciprocal, but we might be even nicer than that. It would be very nice to a lot of countries for a long time. But I call it Liberation Day. April 2nd is Liberation Day. But today, as you know, we did something with respect to Venezuela. You heard about that. And that will be quite important. We'll be announcing some additional tariffs over the next few days, having to do with automobiles, cars, and having also to do a little bit with lumber down the road, lumber and chips. We're going to get all those chip companies coming back. They're already coming back without even doing it. So it's been very good. But we'll be announcing some others. But for the most part, April 2nd will be a big day. That'll be reciprocal day. And we'll be bringing some of the money back that's been taken from us. Let's be nice by using the word taken. I don't want to use a stronger word because these guys are professional politicians and they don't like to hear those words. I refuse to use the word stolen from us, but that's
Usually bring down tariffs. Are you seeing that?
Oh, it happened. Well, the European Union lowered their tariffs to 2.5%. We were only at 2.5% for cars, which is very low. And as you probably heard, that European Union lowered their number from much higher than that, many, many times higher. Surprised to 2.5%. So that was good. But I don't know that I expect that. It's up to them. But we have reciprocal tariffs.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in Atlantic that said that some of your top county officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through signal and included in Atlantic report. What's your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using signal to coordinate on sensitive materials.
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about? The Houthis, you mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective, I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Any else?
This announcement on Hyundai, is this a blueprint for you, for other automakers, to come to the United States to do what Hyundai is doing and investing so much in Louisiana and creating these new jobs?
Absolutely. That's a nice question from you. That's a shocking question, how nice it is, huh? That's okay. That's a question, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, sure. Hyundai is a great company. We have other great companies coming in, and we have some that are going to be staying here and very much expanding. And we have tremendous interest in every business. I can't just say automobiles, but automobiles is a big one. And yeah, this is the beginning of a lot of things happening. We've had, as you know, Apple's announced a $500 billion investment, and Other companies have announced 250, 300 billion, but we're well into the $3 and $4 trillion mark, which has never happened to our country before. What it really means is jobs. All we care about is jobs, right? We care about quality and quality of life and safety and security, but we care about jobs. And they're going to have we have a lot of people coming in.
How did you convince Hyundai to come to your great state? How did you convince them to come to Louisiana?
It was easy. I told them we were going to have a great president this year, right? Look, again, I think that this is Americans seeing the American First policy in action, right? It's not just promises, it's about action. And not only and I appreciate their patience because all last year, many of these legislators, the Speaker and the Senate President, we worked on making Louisiana as friendly for business as the President is making America. We worked on public safety, we worked on educational reform, which the President's been working on. We worked on tax reform, historic tax reform. And what I can tell you is to echo what the President said, in Louisiana right now, I believe before the summer's over, we'll have $50 billion worth of construction projects going on in Louisiana. That is a record, Mr. President. It has never happened under any other president, under any other administration, and I can only look at the leadership that he has brought, not only to the White House, but to the world as well. And so to have these executives come here and say, hey, we want to invest in America, because for decades now, what Americans have seen is jobs being offshore rather than onshore. And today's announcement is exactly that. This is a message for all Americans. This president and their governors out there care about the American worker. I have to tell you that if you have any trouble getting permits, which you want, come see me, I'll get them for you. All right? But you're not going to have any trouble. You know, we had, when I first got involved in this world of politics, when I went down to Louisiana, you know, the two big LNG plants, and they were stuck for 14 years. They tried to get permits, and these were $12 billion and I think $15 billion plants. And they were working on it for 14 years in one case, I think 13 or 14 in the other. And I was able to get them in less than a week. And they were shocked. And probably some consultant got a lot of money for doing it, but nobody spoke to me about it. Other than this gentleman at the time, he mentioned it, and he did. They were in very much different positions, but they wanted to see if we could break the logjam. And I got it done in one case, I actually got it done in one day. And the other case, I didn't do as well. It took a full week. And they built and they're up and they're very successful now. That was a long time ago, but we got it done immediately. You'll have no trouble getting your permits, I guarantee. These people you're dealing with are top of the line. Okay? But just in case. Oh.
You announced earlier today, so it's 25% for any country that does business.
That's right.
In Venezuela.
If they buy their oil from Venezuela, they have to pay a 25% tariff to do business with the United States.
Top of existing tariffs, so for example, China.
Yes, that would be on top of the existing.
5%
That would be,
China.
that's on top of existing tariffs, yes.
So also next week, on April 2nd, as you said, Liberation Day. Is that going to be sector tariffs as well as reciprocal tariffs?
It's going to be everything, yeah. It's going to be everything, but not all tariffs are included that day. For instance, we'll do some, as you know, we have already done steel and aluminum, and that's at a 25% level. And we are going to be doing automobiles, which you've known about for a long time. We'll be announcing that fairly soon, over the next few days probably. And then April 2nd comes, that'll be reciprocal tariffs. But we may take less than what they're charging because they've charged us so much, I don't think they could take it. In other words, they've charged us so much that I'm embarrassed to charge them what they've charged us, but it'll be substantial. And you'll be hearing about that on April 2nd. And it will be Liberation Day because we'll be taking in large amounts of money for our country, and that's lower taxes and all other things that are good. And jobs, a lot of jobs.
The big corporate clients of the big law firms that you targeted with your executive orders, do you want those big corporate clients to find some new lawyers?
I just think that the law firms have to behave themselves. And we've proven that. We have others that want to make a settlement also. They, having to do with the election and other things, they behave very badly, very wrongly. And I appreciate the one, you know, these are the biggest firms. And they all came back realizing that they did wrong, and that's why they're doing this. So I just think they have to behave. We have to straighten out our country. We have to straighten out our elections. Our elections are very dishonest, very corrupt, and we have to straighten it out. And it's so easy to do it, and we should go to paper ballots. We should go to one-day voting. We should go to voter ID. And just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice? How simple does that sound? Proof of citizenship, voter ID, one-day voting and paper ballots. You know, paper ballots are very secure. They have watermark paper. It's very intricate stuff. It's very technologically advanced, even though it's paper. And you'd have no trouble. You wouldn't have dishonest elections, and you'd have them all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. You know, France went to that, and not that I want to copy anybody, but many others have also. And they had 38 million votes, and it was all done at 10 o'clock. They had a winner, they had a loser. That was it. Nobody was complaining. And they had it backed up with paper. And it's so easy to do. The other thing, you'd save about, this would cost you about 8% of what the machines cost. So the paper would be much less expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, that's a good way to save it. So it's a shame that we've gone through it. We've gone through a bad election, really bad election. The election was so bad. And think of it, you wouldn't have had the October 7th disaster, Israel. You wouldn't have had Russia and Ukraine, because that would have never happened. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had the type of withdrawal from Afghanistan that you witnessed, which was probably one of the primary reasons that Russia went into Ukraine. They saw that mess, how badly it was handled, and they said, wow, this is a paper tiger. It was handled by incompetent people. But that wouldn't have, we would have been out, but we would have kept Bagram, the big air base, which is 1 hour away from China, where they make their nuclear weapons. Would have been nice to have it, but now, you know who has it now? China has it. And so an honest election, and we wouldn't have had inflation. You know, you had the record-setting inflation. We wouldn't have had inflation. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to congratulate Hyundai, a great company, and we will do everything possible. And I will say you picked a fantastic state. You're really with tremendous people and tremendous leaders. And Speaker, I want to thank you for doing a great job. You and Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, President Trump, alongside members of Hyundai, making that investment known, where Hyundai says that they are going to be investing a fresh $20 billion into the U.S. With new plants, as well as investing in American jobs. So you're watching live now from Fox, everyone. We appreciate everyone continuing to join us. We showed you that event from President Trump without commercial interruption. And what we'll do right now is that event ends. We'll take our final break here of the hour on Live Now from Fox.
Well, thank you very much. Please sit down. Please, thank you. We have a lot of great political leaders, and the biggest political leaders around, I guess you could say, but by far much bigger are the business leaders. It's not even close. I say that to my friends, the politicians. You have the greatest business leaders in the world here, so it's an honor. This week we're celebrating the most successful first 100 days of any administration in American history. We're thrilled to welcome to the White House dozens of the world top leaders of all kinds, but in particular business leaders. And since the election, the companies represented in this room have collectively announced more than $2 trillion in new investments, and we have a total of close to $8 trillion all told. And there's never been anything like that in this country. We've never had anything close. I would say if you looked at the last administration, probably for 4 years they did maybe less than one. And we've done almost 8. I would say we'll be above 8 in a period of 2 months. So something happened. I think two things happened. November 5th happened, and November 5th gave you tariffs, intelligently used tariffs and various other forms of incentive. But it's really amazing. There's never been, I don't think there's ever been anything like this anywhere in the world. Together, we're going to bring back the most beautiful words. I always say, made in the USA, the most beautiful words. We're going to have made in the USA like we haven't had before in a long time. In addition to the business leaders whose companies I will mention in just a moment, we have some great people, great senators, Marcia, where are you? Where are you, Martha? Marcia, thank you very much. Marcia Blackburn, Bill Cassidy. Bill, thank you, Bill. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you. And John Newstead. John, thank you very much. And Representatives Byron Donalds, Buddy Carter, Rob Whitman, Mark Alford, Mike Rogers, Richard Hudson, and Abe Hamadeh. Thank you all very much. We have Mike Kehoe, governors, Jim Pillen, Kevin Stitt, Mike Dunleavy, along with numerous other members of my cabinet. And I want to thank you all for being here. How come my cabinet has such good locations? You should have given them to the business leaders. We want their money, you know. They have very good locations. I'm not surprised. 100 days ago this week, we inherited the wreckage of 4 years of economic disaster under the previous administration. It was an economic disaster. It was a disaster at the border like nobody had ever seen before. And you probably see we've closed up the border 99.999%, meaning 3 people got in, 3. As opposed to hundreds of thousands of people coming in on a monthly basis, millions of people actually. The periods where we had millions and millions of people pouring in on a monthly basis, we had 3 people. They buried companies in crippling regulations, waged war on American energy, pushed massive tax hikes, and gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. In Biden's final year, the United States had the worst trade deficit ever recorded, and we lost 106,000 manufacturing jobs. Other than that, he's done a fantastic job. But now all that is changing, and all that's changing very fast, because we finally have the president who wants to put our country first. You have a president who believes in America first. In the first quarter GDP numbers just out today, core GDP, now we're removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3%. But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th. And I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy. But we still had and we've had a lot of things happen since November 5th that helped this economy, because it was indicating a strong private sector growth. And it only started after November 5th. The private sector started really heating up after the election. Even though I wasn't there, people knew what we were going to be doing, and the private sector growth was actually very good. Very importantly, gross domestic investment was up an incredible 22%, which they had never seen before. Every new investment, every new factory, and every new job created is a sign of strength in American economy and a declaration of confidence in America's future. We really do. We've never seen anything like this. Even Samsung, whose name isn't mentioned here, but I heard that they announced this morning that they're going to be building a very big plant because they want to be able to beat the tariffs. It's the only way to beat them. The entire Trump economic agenda is about making it easier to do business in America, to create jobs in America, to hire American workers, and to build your factories here in America, not in China or any other country. And we're dealing with many, many countries right now, I will say, and I think I can say for Scott and for Howard and for some of the people that are dealing, there are too many to handle. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to hire some of the people running these companies. Boy, would you do a good job. We could have Jensen negotiate. He'd blow my people away, wouldn't you? I think even Howard would say that. Howard would say, we'll take him. He'd blow them away with big deals. One deal would be the end. That would be it. But we've terminated the Green New scam. It was a scam. And halted tens of billions of dollars of money, wasteful deficit spending. It was like throwing money right out the window. And in the coming weeks, we'll pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And I think even more so, we'll be doing things for business like you've never seen before. You saw it in a little smaller version at the beginning of our last term. You know, we had the most successful 4 years that any president has ever had. The stock market was up 88%. The other markets were up almost 100%. And that's despite COVID and all the crazy things happening. But we had a tremendous 4 years. We're giving credit for that, actually. But our big, beautiful bill, as I call it, our big, beautiful bill, we may name it that, actually, will include 100% expensing retroactive to January 20th. So that's all the way back to just about the beginning of the year. So expensing 1 year, you take a deduction 1 year so you can build your factories right now, essentially almost tax-free if you think about it. Nobody's ever been given that, and we're going to make that expensing for a 4-year period at a full 100%. So last time we made it 1 year, and you had the deductions, you go from 100% to 80 to 60 to 40 to 20 to Zippo. And now what we're going to do is we're going to keep it at that level, and we're going to have it for 4 years. So I believe that was one of the reasons that we had such unbelievable growth. Also, we allowed you to bring money back from outside of the country. It was impossible. You had to have 15 different law firms represented. It was so complicated. And worse was that the tax rate was 65%. I lowered the rate substantially, but still a lot. You know, we shouldn't take your money just to hold you hostage, right? So we lowered it to a reasonable amount, and we took in trillions of dollars, came back. Apple brought in a tremendous amount of money. A lot of the companies here brought in a lot of money, and the businesses represented today clearly understand that if you build your factory in the United States, your tariff rate is 0, and you have other advantages too, and not the least of which is what I just said, having to do with the bill. Now, we have to get that bill approved, so call your local representative, please, and make sure that we get it approved, because I don't want to talk too early, but we're doing well with the Republican Congress. We have the Senate is doing great, and the House is doing great. John Thune has been spectacular. Mike Johnson Speaker has been spectacular. Marcia, you're in there working very hard and doing well. What do you think, we're going to get it passed? We have to. Marcia, we don't get it passed, I'm blaming you. We have to get it passed. We will. I think we will. But I don't think we'll have any Democrat votes. If we don't get it passed, what would happen is your taxes go up 68%. Think of that. And we may not get one vote because they just vote against. It's Trump derangement syndrome, or maybe it's just they hate Republicans, or they hate what we're doing because they've lost their confidence. They've totally lost their confidence. They don't know what the hell is going on. And we are going to get it done. It's probably going to be fully Republican. Fortunately, we have the House, we have the Senate. And we may or may not have a couple of grandstanders, I don't know. But if we do, it would be good if you could work on anybody. I mean, if I were a Democrat, I'd be voting for it 100%. Because I think it's very dangerous politically not to vote for it. Think of it, your taxes go up almost 68%. So, but it looks like we're in good shape, I think. And hopefully we'll get it approved.
Hey fam, I'm gonna cut the live short here. I've been watching for a while, got some schoolwork to do, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the live short. I do apologize. You know what? Never mind. I'm gonna let it run.
Be the biggest bill ever approved in the history of our country, and it'll be the biggest tax cut ever approved in the history of our country.
I do have to cut it. Guys, appreciate you guys joining in. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the love and support everybody has shown me since I've been going live with these streams. I'm not this big YouTube channel. I'm a small channel, so I do things small. So I'm just using my tablet to record. As I get more equipment, guys, I'm gonna definitely go ahead and do the stream a lot better. But for now, I'm in school. Budget is tight. You know how that goes. But thank you guys for joining the live. If you guys like the content, please go ahead, like, subscribe, and share the video. I made some comments at the beginning of the video, guys. I don't know if you guys heard it, but you can go back to the beginning of this if you want to see the things that I said. You can like if you like them, dislike if you don't dislike them. I pretty much do the channel for discussion. You know, I just want to hear what everybody has to say as it pertains to the content that is being made. I am also trying to build a channel too, to where you know, it can be a full-fledged YouTube channel. Maybe one day it'll be my job, but for now I do have to get a 9 to 5. And while I'm doing that, I am putting some time into this channel. I appreciate every single last one of you for joining in, liking the videos, and staying tuned with me. You guys could have been anywhere on your Monday evening, and you guys chose to be here with me. So I do appreciate every single one of you. I wanted to take the time out to pray for everyone. I pray that the Holy Spirit may come upon everyone, including our presidents, our leaders, the people, the movers and shakers in our world. May God bring peace upon everyone, upon every country, and make those countries that are going through conflict, may they find a common ground to where they can, you know, come to some agreement so they can stop the loss of life, as our president is trying to do himself. But we all know that only the hand of God and only the Spirit of Jesus Christ can come down and really change things in a drastic way. But we pray that God may give men the discernment to abstain from war, because it gains no one but the devil. And I want to thank every one of my subscribers who've participated in the live. Thank you for having this channel so I can share, you know, the information that's been bestowed upon me, you know, by the Holy Spirit, if that is the case. I thank everyone for joining. I appreciate and really I'm glad for all my subscribers. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. May God be with all of you. May the blessings of the Holy Spirit wash over every single one of you. With that said, thank you guys. Have a wonderful night.